ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies.
And when I got ready to leave that, baby, I left for grace. I said, thank you, Mr. President, for your invitation. Please invite me back again. But if you want to make me happy and you happen to invite me back again, please don't invite no damned old men. Without a mom, the day would never end. Without a mom, the road would never bend. A man is born, but son, you ain't got a friend. Not like a mom. Not like a mom.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and let Miss Mobley, Mom, go ahead and come back another day. We are gonna go here, and then next up on the news channel. Ladies and gentlemen, what I need to tell all of you this morning, there are a couple of things that I forgot to mention. I made a video and I talked about blood and water boiling at roughly the temperature of boiling water, about 120 degrees, and about how I learned this in school. Well, the fact is, the water starts to boil at roughly about 100 degrees, but you start seeing bubbles at 120. Now, again, they were right that water starts to boil at 100, right around 100, because there is no set number. However, 120 degrees was the number that, you know, we had back in the 80s when I was in school. No, sorry. I knew that since the 70s when we did our little Bunsen burners and our little what do you call those? Not a Bunsen burner. It was a no, it was a Bunsen burner that we had in the school. And we would take water and we would take a container and the teacher would set the water and then we would sit up there, watching a pot boil. It takes a long time. We would sit up there and we'd watch a pot boil and we would put a thermometer. Well, actually, we didn't put the thermometer in. They were very cautious back then. Well, actually, no, in the 70s, they weren't that cautious because we got to do a lot of stuff that kids can't do today, that there are a lot of restrictions on them doing because of safety standards and so on and so forth. Remember, we could sit up there and eat lead paint off walls during the 70s. Can't do that anymore. They don't even have lead paint anymore. So, we were a little bit stronger back then. We could handle stuff like that. Well, anyway, I just wanted to correct that just in case anybody was assuming that I was incorrect when I stated that. And the point wasn't whether or not water boiled at 120. It is a true statement that it does boil at 120. The rest of the statement is that it starts to boil right about 100 to 110 degrees. There you go. And that the doctor said that he saw my blood boiling in my veins. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I told you I was going to do a video on this particular document. Now, I have another document I have to create, but it ain't gonna let me. All right. So we create a name, we create address, we create a city, state, and we put exempt. Why you put exempt? Because we ain't got no zip code. It's exempt. See how I put state of Washington right here? Well, watch this. Let's go ahead. This is what y'all gonna do when y'all get this document. Watch this. Got to do this right here. Hold on. Daniel Hubbard. Michael O'Conroy. Oh, stop listening. I actually couldn't talk while that was up because it would have been typing everything I would say. And I don't want it to type everything I would say because I ain't got time for it to be no typing everything I would say. Now watch this. I'm going to pick bold, okay? And then I'm going to click OK and watch what it's going to do. I'm going to hit replace all. Did you see that? It just replaced everything. Now watch this. Start listening. I said start listening. Sorry, I got to say it right. It don't like to be yelled at. Start listening. Oh, no, 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 no. It's not start listening. It's wake up. That's what I should be saying. Wake up. It didn't do it. Wake up. Washington, Delaware. Stop listening. And as you can see, all throughout the document, Delaware appears where Washington was. And everywhere Daniel appeared, Michael appears now. So the whole document is taken care of, including here. You would do the same thing with Vancouver. You can just do wake up. Laughington, Georgetown. Stop listening. I knew it would have a problem with Laughington because I was just creating blah, 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 a name. So let's go over this document. I have a couple of minutes because I have to do this on behalf of the people I did the document for, but I also have to. This is a universal document. So for instance, this one for this person, the document that I'm getting ready to create for another person is an appellate objection to the clerk record. Whenever you do an appeal, the clerk introduces evidence to the appellate court. They give the court the clerk's record. You want to object to that clerk's record because that clerk's record has your name in all capital letters. It has your namesake and not you. So you want to object to that, and that's the first thing you want to do. However, let's say that you're filing a case in the court or somebody's filed a case against you. You want to put your counter complaint in the record. So you would label it, watch this, wake up, counter complaint, all caps that, bold that, stop listening. Okay, now we got that taken care of. Now remember, you would add your case number here. You should already have a case number if you're filing a response to someone else. Now we put this in the appellate court, but you're going to put, and we're going to highlight this because I put appellate court, but if it's a superior court or a, what is it, a judicial district court, or what's the other court? Chancery court, all of those little state low run stupidity courts, you will change all of that. Does this work in small claims court? Yes. Does this work in bankruptcy court? Yes. It works in all the courts because it doesn't specifically say anything in the document about superior court or any other court. So let's make this a little bit larger. That's too large. Okay, we're going to stop right there. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, so that you understand, we're going to cover the introduction of evidentiary witnesses. Now, we put appellate brief. We'll say, wake up, counter complaint, stop listening, to be liberally construed, introduction of evidence. Every matter brought before the court must be supported by evidence. You cannot introduce a matter into the court, this is a known fact, without evidence. You can't just make an allegation in court without some supportive evidence. So we are supporting ours by evidence. Witness testimony, that's what evidence is. Whenever someone introduces evidence, they're introducing a witness. And if it's a document, it has to have a seal or some sort of authenticity, an original signature or something to denote that it is original. It now stands as testimony. Why? Because of what the document represents or what it says, i.e., it speaks. Therefore, it's a witness. That testimony must be reliable and directly associated with the subject matter of the case. So let's go down to one. That's oh, and those of y'all, I have a lot of y'all who don't like my music. Don't stop the music. I can tell you like this dance, dance. Don't stop the music. Don't you stop it. Don't you stop. Don't stop the music. You ain't got to ask me twice. You don't really want to stop? No! Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have music playing in my background. I would do it on my cell phone, so we have some Luther and some Vandross and some Patti LaBelle's and some Goldstein and Westbourne and Mabelborn. What I can't do right here. No, we're not going to play no Joss Stone. I do have Joss Stone on here, but we're not going to play no Joss Stone. I have Jeffrey Osborne. We're not going to play Jeffrey right. Oh, LTD. LTD. Letty. We got, don't want to LL Cool J this morning. LL Cool J sang a couple of songs that, hey, Shine On. I did not know I had Shine On. Okay. So I'm just going to drag and drop. Is it going to let me drag and drop? It ain't going to let me drag and drop. So I'm going to do Shine On. And then what I'm going to do right here, we're going to have another song. Now, you guys may not know anything about Shine On and LTD, except for me making videos and me playing LTD's Shine On. Okay. Song starts out, just yesterday, I felt my eyes upon your lovely face. That's what he said. We're going to do this right here. We're going to open file location. Okay, by opening file location, we go back here. And there is another song. And as soon as this ends, let's see. Love Ballad. Y'all know we gotta play Love Ballad, okay? But we gonna play Shine On. I've always loved this song. And what you gotta do, like I keep telling you guys about nostalgia, you gotta go back. You gotta go back to that time period and understand the uniqueness of this song. This song came out in the 70s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Time period where there was the crisis going on with the Iran-Contra, not Iran-Contra, but the Iran hostage scandal, because it was a scandal that was done on purpose. And a couple other things. You had the gas shortage. There's some political unrest. You had the fact that people were now using knives to stab people on a regular basis. But in the 80s, you have the fact that guns are now being used. When people are stabbing each other, they're using guns. Okay? So that hadn't been the case before. To be shot by somebody, look, getting a gun, if you've ever watched Good Times, in the episodes where there's a gun involved there, it took a lot of money to get a gun. You had to know the right people. You just couldn't go buy a gun off the street just because you felt like it, not like today. Okay? No. You had to. Oh, by the way, we talked about the Vegas thing on the other video, and then we're going to get to this document in a second. We talked about the Vegas video, the Vegas situation, the incident on the other video. Let me help you guys out. Did you now hear that almost 4 months later, they're introducing the fact that they were looking for other suspects? Really? You're looking for other suspects? After all that bullshit, y'all done said, I thought there was just one shooter, but now you're looking for other suspects. All of a sudden, they're introducing this. Why? Because they're trying to make everybody, I told you guys, you heard me say, beginning of this year, they were going to be introducing gun laws and proposal for gun laws. And And then after this shooting in his high school, all of a sudden now they want to let the teachers have guns on campus? What is a teacher carrying a gun gonna do? Ladies and gentlemen, even if 15 people had a gun at that school, that means a lot more casualties. Yeah, fine, you probably would have shot and killed the individual, but you got a bunch of other casualties, a bunch of other individual bystanders. Well, they need to stop him because he's just shooting everybody. That's not the solution, people. But I can't help that. All I can tell you is it's going to turn out that the kid had some type of psychological issues. Promise you that he was seeing somebody's psychologist. Why? Because that's what they do. I don't care about MK Ultra, any of that stuff. This is just the way history and the facts are. Thank you, Jeffrey and LTD. So Jeffrey Osborne and LTD singing Shine On. And now they singing Love Ballad. Y'all know about Love Ballad, don't y'all? Yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way, getting these songs took a whole lot because LTD, Concentrate on You. We're going to go to Concentrate on You next, okay? Got to go to Concentrate on You. Why are we going to go to Concentrate on You? Well, there's one more song that I want to play, but we're going to do Concentrate on You, then we're going to play one more song by LTD. This was another one of those songs that got me through a whole lot of times, y'all. And to this day, you and your grandmama will listen to this song because y'all know what this song means. Ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I wanted to tell y'all before we get back to the document, and I'm going to leave that other conversation I was just having alone because I forgot what it was. That's what I do, y'all. I forget. The reason why all this is going on, Saturday is February 3rd. It will make a year since my mother passed away. And so this is what happens to me on anniversaries like that. That's why, if you weren't paying attention, moms, Mabley, kept calling her Mobley. I keep wanting to call her Mobley. Sorry, moms. Anyway, that's what that's for. Now, my mother didn't sound like that, but she reminds me of women of that era, of the era of my mother growing up. She reminds me of the type of women that would be around the neighborhood. Moms, Mabley. I believe her first name was Jackie. Hey, moms, is your first name Jackie? Jackie, where's your first name at, moms? I believe her first name is Jackie, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure because it was in the first video, but now it's just Moms Mabley here in all these. That's because that's what I looked under. Oh, Jackie. There she is right there, Jackie. So, she just reminds me of that era. She reminds me of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. I don't know about Florida, people. I have no idea of how the women were in Florida. Now, she's doing the movie that I showed in the other video about Baltimore. But again, it's that time of year for me. And so that's what that's about. Let's get back to this. We were just talking about witnesses regarding this document. It says, but if he doesn't listen, and this is Jesus speaking at Matthew's the 16th chapter. He's talking about if two brothers, two associates, two fellows were to have a disagreement with one another, that they would try to resolve it amongst themselves. Pay attention. If the other individual did not want to listen, and I don't want to hear that, get out of my face, then he's to take along with him one or more person. Why? For a witness. See? So that on the testimony or mouth or two or three witnesses, well, the original person plus the one he took along, or the original person and the two he took along, 2 or 3 witnesses, every matter may be established. Everything said might stand. And these are the references for the scripture. This was back in ancient times. Jesus was letting them know, even Paul said the same thing, that it was to continue in our time. This is the foundation for the courts. Okay? I was upset because in court, all you need is one witness, because the other witness is the prosecution and the so-called testimony the prosecution gives on the record. You must understand, attorneys cannot give testimony. Attorneys cannot give witnesses. So what they do is they have the attorney plus the clerk produce evidence against you. Don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about arguing that. Ladies and gentlemen, well, you'll see why in a second. Let's get back up to page number 1. And that's what's going to make this so difficult, is going all the way down to the bottom of the page. Let's do a save as. File, save as, and we're going to do documents and wake up. Michael, complaint, response. Okay, stop listening. I promise I wasn't gonna let you guys take up the whole show today, so y'all just gonna have to do the concentrate on you. And then, ladies and gentlemen, this song starts off kind of slow, but that's the type of ballads they did. That's why they did a song called Love Ballad, y'all. Okay? And there is I Need to Find Stranger. I don't think Stranger is here, y'all.
Oh, it helps me through these hours I spent away from you. People wonder how I do it. Oh, it ain't nothing to it. These gentle thoughts of you makes it all worth going through.
But then it picks up.
You gave me a special kind of feeling. Makes it so easy and oh so pleasing.
Concentrate on you. Concentrate on you.
Yeah.
LTD starring Jeffrey Osborne. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have Stranger, and I should have Stranger. I have the video Stranger, but let's do, we got Moms Mobley twice. We'll do Wake Up. LTD hyphen Stranger.
Concentrate on you. Concentrate on you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The secret lies within our minds. The love we share and the time that
Stop listening.
helps me concentrate on you.
No, we're going to do this one this way, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to use this one as our template for reading up and down. And then for going to this part right here, what we're going to do is I'm just going to flip back between the two, okay? That way, I'll save a lot of time instead of having to go up and down. Now, we know that number one talks about scriptural basis for a witness. This is the foundational principle for where the courts got this from. Remember, they didn't come up with anything on their own. There had to be a foundation. So it is nice to know about the laws. Again, Deuteronomy, standing for Book of Law. Leviticus, second law. This is where law started. Oh no, there were laws. No, there wasn't. The original law was, do not eat from my mother tree. That was the original law. Okay? Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Second law, people. Okay? And then the statute, a man will leave his father and mother and will stick to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Statute. Okay? Those were all statutes. Those were all laws. Those were commands. That's what a law is. It's a commandment. Oh, is that why they say the 10 Commandments? You better believe it. So once you understand that the foundational principle of the courts is Scripture, because that's where those laws are written. Prior to that, they were just spoken laws. But now they were put down in writing. Why? Because man had multiplied in the earth. There were millions of them. Okay, that's enough of y'all LTD. All right, we're going to let that go, and we're going to play LTD's Stranger and the mix, y'all. This is Stranger, y'all. Now, yeah, that's loud enough for me to hear. If y'all can't hear it, I don't know, I don't care. No, that's too loud. There's no. Okay. Na 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 na. Nobody. Na 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 na. Okay. I just like the song, ladies and gentlemen, a lot because of how it's done. The harmony with these men, LTD featuring Jeffrey Osborne. Okay. Love this song. Let's get back to this document, ladies and gentlemen. This video will take as long as it takes so that we can get to the bottom. I didn't ask for you to go up there. I was right here. I don't know why you jumped. All right, pay attention. The use of case law in the court is the use of case law is the court's and its officers' way of using witness testimony to support their claims. This fundamental principle comes from Scripture. Again, what we just showed. The Supreme Court of the United States recognizes the use of Scripture and the Declaration of Independence the same. That all men are created equal. Well, where did man learn that all men were created? The Scriptures. And they are endowed by their Creator. Where did they learn that there was a Creator who endowed them with certain rights? With certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We don't care about the pursuit of happiness. We do care about life and liberty. That's a due process right. That's where that due process right comes from. It's the Declaration of Independence. Why? You'll see in a second. So let's go to number 2 to see what number 2 speaks about. Did a video. See, all of this is a progression. If you haven't watched the video that was done on Hayden Cooper Covington, and it's actually titled Hayden Cooper Covington, the title actually includes this whole section right here. He presented 111 petitions and appeals to the Supreme Court. He won 80%. Well, actually, he was closer to 86%. 80% of the 44 cases brought before the court. Often with the use of Scripture in every presentment, the Supreme Court recognizing each presentment. How do I prove that the Supreme Court recognized this use of Scripture? Because, got to get rid of that each. That ain't supposed to be there. That's a typo. Okay. and it was probably each. That's where that each came from. It was voice recognition, inputting it wherever the mouse was. Ladies and gentlemen, each of these cases won by Covington, or for his client, he used Scripture. The Supreme Court never once told him the use of Scripture was inappropriate, and he was an officer of the court. The Supreme Court never said, we do not recognize Scripture in this court. The Supreme Court, by accepting each of those motions and ruling in his favor, showed that they recognized and accepted those Scriptures. You feel me? That's the argument, that the Supreme Court, by its ruling, recognized Scripture. Okay, got that taken care of. Now let's move to the next point. See, it keeps doing that. I didn't ask it to jump, but it's jumping on its own, y'all. I can't help that. But just to take care of me. Okay. The founding fathers of the original legislature, that's right, those who wrote the Declaration of Independence, ladies and gentlemen, that was the original Congress. We keep thinking the original Congress was the Congress who created the Constitution. No, that wasn't the original Congress, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that was a second Congress. The original Congress were the men who created the Charter. Okay? That was the original Congress. All right, let's continue. For the United States saw fit to incorporate the fact that men are created. Again, the Bible at Genesis 1:1 says that men were created. Let me do this. I didn't do this in the one that I did for the other people, but we're going to do this now for you all because I have to include that. Let's go back up. This shows who the creator of the earth is, which gives him the right to set the standard for how evidence is received, okay, in judicial matters, because this is the controlling factor for judicial matters, okay, so that's why I did that. So now that you guys know that, okay, let's continue. I'm gonna do this one starting at number 3. And sorry about the font, but I'll read it to y'all. By the way, this is the Declaration of Independence. So we're going to do that for y'all so that y'all will know. Oh, by the way, it will be very difficult for us to put this document up. So now you just get to follow along around. You see, it did it again. So I don't know why it's jumping to the top because the voice recognition is off. But what we're going to do right here, you see this 2, we're going to put 2, comma, and 3. And here we put 1, comma, 3. Okay? Because 3 talks about the Declaration of Independence. Here's the Declaration of Independence, number 3. See, even the Covington thing goes back up to the top because I know y'all saw me set this right here, right there. Okay. The unanimous declaration of the 13th United States of America, the 13th United States of America. I know it's supposed to be colonies, but that's what it says. The 13th. Oh, but no, it doesn't say colonies. It says the 13th United States because that's what it stood for. The states were united. One of the course of human events. Hey, walk away from love, David Rufford. Gonna walk away, gonna walk away. Anyway, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve political bonds, which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the nature of God, our nature's God, entitled them. A decent respect to the opinion of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impels them to separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, just as the information I am presenting is self-evident. It's evidence, people. We hold these truths to be self-evident. They're introducing evidence to support their declaration, their unanimous declaration. Are you not paying attention to what they're doing? This is what they're doing. Notice what they say, that all men are created equal. All men are not created equal. Adam was the only man created, ever created, was Adam. Then Eve was created from Adam, and everyone else came through Adam and Eve. So not all men are created equal, but that's okay. It's all right. They didn't understand this stuff back then. They were just businessmen. They had no concept of Scripture. And they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, that makes them secured rights. You're going to hear me talk about that in a minute. You may have, if you've been around law long enough, heard people talk about secured rights. They're different from privileges. Secured rights cannot be taken away. Among these secured rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So the people had to consent to it. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed from light or transient causes. Ladies and gentlemen, people have used this statement to say that they can overturn current governments. And then the current government says that's a lie, they crazy, they don't know what they're talking about. But then they use this very same thing to overturn governments in other nations. Okay? This is not what this document is about. This ain't talking about overturning nothing. That's why we highlighted the point we're focusing on, that the originators believed in God. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Love the song. Walk away from love. David Rufford, y'all. Gotta walk away. Gotta walk away. Oh, baby. Hey. All right. So there you go. The reason for number 3. Now, everybody pays attention. Not attention, attention. See, this shouldn't be. Let's see, where's the mouse at? The mouse is right here. That's why it's doing that. Okay, so what I'll do from now on, when I switch to the other one, I'll put the mouse down here. So to take this part of the thing, what it's doing is reorienting the page to where the mouse is, putting the mouse in the center of the page as opposed to the top of the page. I'd rather the mouse be at the top of the page because that's where I just left off. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be moving, or the cursor, or this is the cursor, this is the mouse. Whee! Ah, spring! Anyway, number 5, ladies and gentlemen. However, in this instance, he declared that he created man and woman and gave them the trusted responsibility of controlling the earth. It's an inheritance. Okay, so watch what I do. Uh-oh. Well, we gotta do this. And we're gonna put 1. Okay, now that 1 has to be bold. We cannot leave that 1 because it has to be bold. It has to stand out. Okay, so it's bold. See how bold it is? It's standing out. Now we bring the courts. See, first we gave the courts our foundation of introducing evidence of why we get to use Scripture. Okay, so you see this. This is switch. Many people would call them the barge, but the original name was switch. Okay.
Like.
And this is I call your name, y'all.
Do you want me? Are you
the
gonna
barge,
call
y'all.
me like you said you would?
Is this
Is
really
this
a real phone number? All right. The plain meaning
But
based on language. That's
I'm a
first
man now, baby.
and related
Grown
statute.
man.
Got this
And
from an
I came
actual
a
article.
long
What I took out of the
way.
article were the things that were important
And
to
the
this.
Spirit taught me one thing. Taught me to hold
In this
on to my
brief,
love.
we examine the language of the text. You can leave it as brief in your document. Word, phrase, and provision, because this document challenges the court's jurisdiction, and it says to the court that it does not have subject matter jurisdiction, that the government had not been notified. You'll see all of that in a second. This is a 20-page document. We're only on page 1. Those of y'all who ain't got no patience, you're the ones who are going to be penis out. Can't help that. That's your fault. See, you want help, but you don't want to take the time to learn. Well, I can learn. I just don't want all the music, and I don't want you talking about all the other stuff. Then go to somebody else. You don't have the right to complain. You can come here. You don't have the right to complain. Yes. For the most part, I play the music because I know it gets on some of y'all's nerves. Because I don't want you here. That's the truth. I'm not. See? I'm talking to you. I ain't gonna call your name. I'm just gonna let you know that you don't belong here. This is for the people who want to take the time to learn. And who want to learn while doing dishes, while cleaning up the house, while on their way to work. Who don't need to be distracted by commercials, entertainment, or listening to music on the way to work with the commercials and doing nothing. If you're going to be driving to work, you might as well be occupying your time. When I do occupy my time, I talk on the phone. Good. You're occupying your time talking on the phone. When you could be occupying your time listening to some information that's going to benefit you. Well, that's what I do when I'm talking on the phone. What you talking on the phone about? Your mama, your daddy, your papa, your uncle, your cousin, gossip? What Johnny did with Jim, and what Jim did with Susie, and what Susie did with James? That's what you talk about? And you? No, I don't talk about that. I talk about other stuff. Well, you keep talking about other stuff. I'm going to go back to talking about this, okay? All right. No, that's okay. Don't need to hear it. You go talk to your friend John, Jim, James, and Joe about that other stuff. And we're going to talk about this. Go on and talk now. Go on now, child. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to deal with the amendments, the historical development of the statute in which the provision and issue is found. The courts must look at the relationship of the statute with other related statutes or other provisions of the same act in which the provision is found to document whether a plain meaning can be ascertained. E.g., Arizona, California, Connecticut, Utah, Washington, Wisconsin. These are all of the states where they have adopted these principles. However, I'm using this because all of the courts adopt these principles in one fashion or another because the Supreme Court adopts these principles. There is a case. It is called Billy, what's your last name? Reynolds. Billy Joe Reynolds versus the United States of America. He did an appeal and an certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they talked about when reading statutes, they must go at the plain language of the statute, the original intent of the statute. That's what I'm doing right here, y'all. This approach uses both the intrinsic and the limited extrinsic aid. In the plain analysis, does it say? Meaning analysis. The court used the typical intrinsic aid, such as the literal or internal structure of the text, the context of the statute or the statutory scheme. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? If they do this when interpreting statutes, they must do this when interpreting your document. Then this is what you should be saying. Okay? You know what? That's what I would put, right? That's what I literally would say that to you guys. If this is what the courts use in interpreting documents and statutes, then they must use the very same thing. Because it talks about the context of the statute or the statutory scheme. The historical development of the language of the statute or provisions, the dictionaries and the legislative drafting manuals. You got it? What was the intention of the legislator when it stated that the ownership of all property is in the state? Let's go to number 4 and see if we can see when they stated that. Number 4, Senate Document 43, 73rd Congress. It did the same thing again. I didn't put the mouse there, y'all. That's my fault. L, why didn't you warn me? That's Elder Barge, y'all. Okay, so I'm putting the mouse there. Hopefully that will work, because I did it on the other page. Let's see if that makes a difference. I'll go back here. See where the mouse is? So, it did work. So, here, where the mouse is. You see where the mouse is? That's where the mouse is. So, the mouse thing does work. Alright, we'll go back up to number 4. Alright, number 4. Alright, Senate Document number 43, 73rd Congress, first session. There were 2 sessions back then. You have what Congress reserves for the fall and winter session. This was the spring and summer session. Okay? Or, yeah, spring and summer. Okay. So the first section is winter and spring. And the other one is summer and fall. Because they go into what you call it. Yeah, summer and fall. So this is the first session, okay? Now, we got the first session taken care of where Congress said that the ownership of all property is in the state. This is from the drafting of the legislature. Drafting of the so-called act. Or what was the intention of the legislature when it stated that under the new law, the March 9, 1933 Act, the money is issued to the banks
I'm gonna get this song to all the lovers tonight.
in return for government obligations. Bobby
I expect that to be the whole world because everybody
the
needs
money
something.
will be worth 100 cents on a dollar because it is backed by the credit of the nation. It will represent a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people of the nation. Let's find out where it said that, because that's the footnote number 5. Yeah, this one is different. Oh, because it's in the box. I have to keep the mouse next to the number because it's in the box. If it's not,
If y'all don't mind, I'd like to talk about this.
okay, let me show you. I'm learning this stuff myself. See, number 5, it's in the box. Because it's in this box, oh, you gotta get it out of that box. No. You gotta think outside. No. You gotta keep it in the box, ladies and gentlemen. So when I put it in the box, I gotta stay next to the number. So number 5 says Congressional Record, March 9, 1933, on House Resolution 1491, page 83. Ladies and gentlemen, the House Resolution is the intention of the actual act or law because that's the putting everything together. The resolution is where Congress is saying this is what we intend to do. We intend to be resolute. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is something I have to show you. We're going to go here. Skeletons come out of the closet and they chase you all around the room. The memories like a ghost and dance around like a bad slow tune. Ow! Have you ever heard a bad slow tune, y'all? Well, that's what Bobby's talking about. You gotta wait until tonight, y'all. I'll be long. We ain't gonna go there right now, y'all. I just want to keep that ready. We're not going there right yet. I just gotta keep it ready because I need y'all to see what's going on next. Okay. They said it will represent a mortgage on all of the homes and other properties. United States Treasury Department said Federal Reserve notes are not redeemable and receive no backing by anything. This has been the case since 1933. The notes have no value for themselves. What was the Treasury's intention? Well, let me show y'all something. Legal tender status. Y'all know about legal tender status? If you think you're lonely, guys. If you think you're lonely, girls, wait until tonight. This is what I want to show you. I don't want to show you where they say, where the Treasury says that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I want to show you. Okay? This is the official site of the United States government. Okay? This is from the United States Treasury Department. So what do I do? Do I not include this in here? Pay attention. An official website of the United States government, the United States Department of Treasury, Resource Center, frequently asked questions, currency, legal tender status. The United States government, this is their official position on legal tender, known as Federal Reserve notes, that it has no backing, that they are not redeemable, and that they have no value. Do you understand that? This is what the United States government has said. Because the United States government has says that, that is the intent. Then since we have the answer, what Congress was saying, this says, okay, this is, what was Congress saying is what it should be. But it worked the other way because that's the way I originally wrote it. What Congress was saying was, but it was a question, so it's what Congress was saying, what the question was. They told us in their own words while they were creating the statute, take special judicial notice of the following. Let's note what Mr. Namesakes said. First section of the bill, as I graced it, is practically the war powers that were given back in 1917. So because other individuals have used this, the courts have said the law was not the War Powers Act. But yes, it was, because they talked about it being the war powers that were given back in 1917. They did create something called the War Powers Act in 1970. I think it was 1974. But nonetheless, it was Congress who called it the War Powers Act, given back in 1917, because they associated the act with war powers. Okay. Y'all know this song? Can you? Woo, woo, woo. Billy Ocean. Let me show y'all. Y'all don't believe me? Oh, this is Jeffrey Osborne. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. I said Billy Ocean. I apologize, Jeffrey. Sorry. This is the woo woo song. No, this is You Should Be Mine. Can you woo woo? Jeffrey Osborne. Just wrapped around you. I can't hold back what I feel inside. Anyway, it's just a fact. I would like to ask the chairman of the committee if this is a plan to change the holding of the security back of the Federal Reserve note to the Treasury of the United States rather than the Federal Reserve agent. Pay attention. To change the holding of the security back of the Federal Reserve note. Not back to the Federal Reserve note, but the Federal Reserve note used to be backed by securities. Okay? A government security. Securing the note and its value, i.e. before it was gold. So he said, is this a plan to change the backing of the Federal Reserve note to the Treasury of the United States rather than the Federal Reserve agents, the bank? Now, that's what he's talking about. Many people would misunderstand that. Okay? Mr. Stiegel says, and this is their conversation, this is their intent, that's why we're using it. This is our witness. We're using Congress as a witness. This provision is for the issuance of Federal Reserve bank notes and not for Federal Reserve notes. And the security back of it is the obligation. Okay? The obligations, the notes, the drafts, the bills of exchange, banker's acceptance, outlined in the section to which the gentleman has referred. What section did the gentleman refer to, ladies and gentlemen? Well, he referred to the war powers that were given back in 1917 and the first section of the bill. That's what they're talking about. And you know, they don't speak plainly. They could have just said, look, in this section right here, in this bill, the March 9, 1917, 1985, 1923 Act, we're talking about this. And you notice this section where it actually specifically says this. This is line 3, page 4 of that act. They didn't do that. They talked in legalese. Now, hold on. Then the new circulation is to be Federal Reserve bank notes and not Federal Reserve notes. Is that true? Insofar as the provision of this section are concerned, yes. So they never said they weren't going to issue Federal Reserve notes. They just said, insofar as the provision was backing it up with Federal Reserve notes and the homes being collateral, that insofar as that provision, yeah. Now, goes on to say, from my observation of the bill, this is Brighton. He's completely somebody different speaking up. Okay? From my observation of the bill, as it was read in the House, it would appear that the amount of the banknotes that might be issued by the Federal Reserve System is not limited. It will depend entirely upon the amount of collateral, all mortgages, all homes, all property, all the people, that is presented from time to time from exchange for banknotes. Is that not correct? Mr. McIver said, yes, I think that is correct. Putting the pieces together, coming to a consensus. That's my wording, y'all. Let's go on Roman numeral number 3. Congressional intent is very important when we consider the facts surrounding this instant matter, because the court has decided to throw the burden upon myself to prove my standing in this matter. I accept that burden and introduce the congressional record as my witness along with foundational scripture. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Spinners, and let's see how many minutes this song is. This is the whole song. This is not Love Don't Love Nobody, the first part, and the second part. This is the whole song. Okay, this was my favorite song growing up as a child. Okay, it takes a fool to learn, because there were a lot of people who just couldn't learn. They had to be fools.
Sometimes a girl
Anyway, number 12.
will come and go.
Just to think, we got 60 of these paragraphs to go. Congress made it clear what its intent was when it said that the money they issued was supposed to be Federal Reserve notes to be utilized by the Federal Reserve Bank and their member banks for internal purposes. They were to be exchanged at the Treasury Department for lawful money. But as noted above, the Treasury Department on its official United States government website has documented that federal, it should be has documented, but it could be as documented, either one works. So we do has documented that Federal Reserve notes have no value and are not redeemable, so they do not provide a remedy for the public at large, because the public doesn't get to use them. Federal Reserve notes are not a remedy for the public. You guys understand that, don't you? Well, let's go and take a look. Hold on. We go here. Remember, we're looking at number 8, 12 U.S.C. 401, issuance to reserve banks, nature of obligation and redemption. Federal Reserve notes to be issued at the discretion of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Well, to be issued, and we do this. We don't need all that other language. That's not even important. for the purpose of making advances to Federal Reserve banks through the Federal Reserve agent, and hereinafter set forth, and for no other purpose are authorized. The said notes are obligations of the United States. Okay. Give me 1 second. Gotta wait for my mouse to catch up. Love don't love nobody. No one. The sound of pain is on my face. They shall be redeemable in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States in the city of Delaware, District of Columbia. I gave her all the love I had within. Now, many of you need to understand this was a practice that I learned from the Watchtower and Awake when they would quote Scripture. This is highlighting the main points. It doesn't take away from the context. It focuses on the point we're trying to make with the use of this law. There's no reason to have all that other wording because individuals can be distracted by all those other wording. This is what the courts do when they quote case law. This is what the Supreme Court does. I did not know that the Watchtower and Awake was doing the same thing as a result of the way Scripture is, as a result of the way case law or laws in the Scripture are. Didn't know that. All right, we're gonna stop right here. Ooh-wee. All right, I told you it's my fault. Y'all have no idea. It takes a fool, y'all. Oh, baby. It took me a long time to learn. Okay. I am entitled to equitable affirmative relief. Now, why do I use this statement here? I was looking at some case law, doing some research on some case law that I received from Corpus Juris Secundum. And while I was doing the research on that case law, I was reading a particular case where, and it wasn't from Corpus Juris Secundum, but it started with me doing research on information from Corpus Juris Secundum. And the court said that the individual had failed to ask for affirmative relief. Said the individual asked for relief, but they failed to ask for affirmative relief. And I said, I don't believe it. These idiots just came up with a technicality. So I started asking for affirmative relief and everything. Equitable affirmative relief and equitable remedy. So I asked for both. So there is no, well, you failed to ask for a remedy. You just asked for relief. You didn't ask for remedy. So we asked for both.
I just got to explain to you how I feel. Because you see, I've been a fool, but
I have been denied this. And
now I love you, and
I hereby petition this court for not only an equitable remedy, but affirmative equitable relief, as I have the right to. However, the key point to note in the statute is the phrase government obligation. The question, according to Congress, what was their legislative intent as to what government obligations are? And then I put this one simple code. Instead of putting this code at the bottom, I put it in the body. Why? Because I want them to focus on it. This is part of the petition. Even though the statutes and authorities are the foundation for how the petition is based, this is part of the petition. So I introduced it as evidence in the petition. Title 18, United States Code, subsection 8. Obligations and other security of the United States are defined. The term obligation or other security of the United States includes all bonds. All bonds, ladies and gentlemen, that includes, but it says, now this is, I'll explain in a minute. Certificates of indebtedness, national bank currency, Federal Reserve notes, Federal Reserve bank notes, coupons, United States notes, Treasury notes. There are no more United States notes, ladies and gentlemen. The Treasury Department says those were suspended. Gold certificate, silver certificate, fractional notes, certificates of deposits, bills, checks, or drafts of money. Sorry, this is a song I dedicated to my friend after he died. This was a song that was playing on the way to the cemetery. So, and it's an appropriate song, so, because that's how I felt while I waited here.
I may be just a foolish dreamer, but I don't care.
All I know is my
'Cause I know my happiness is waiting
out there
somewhere. I'm searching for that silver line.
Treasury notes, gold certificate, silver certificate, fractional notes, certificates of deposit, bills, all the bills you receive, checks, drafts for money, drawn by or upon authorized officers of the United States. Well, when you receive a bill from any of these corporations, these are authorized agents of the United States. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that. The call coming in. I told people I wouldn't get started until 8:30. It's 8:15.
I'd like to know the taste
So
of
when I'm doing stuff like this, I'm not answering the call. But let's get back to this so that you guys understand what's going on. Drawn upon authorized officers
well,
of the
I've
United
shared
States.
so many pains.
Stamps and other representative values of whatever denomination issued under any act of Congress and caps of the United States stamps. All of these are considered obligations of the United States, and they are all considered items of value. See, or other representative of value. So canceled stamp. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pay attention to this because it's very important that you get this. The bank is an officer of the United States. Those agencies that provide basic services, such as your cell phone company, your gas company, your electric company, those are all officers of the United States. What do you mean they're officers of the United States? You can't prove that. They're all the FCC or FTC. Okay? They're either through one of them. Get out of here. Okay? So because that is the case, ladies and gentlemen, because that is the case, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. The person leaving the message was leaving a message regarding the Social Security account and a minor account. The very same thing I told people I wasn't going to be discussing. And they want to call me to talk about something I said I wasn't going to discuss. So, no. Okay. Let's get back to this so that we can get this taken care of so that all of you will know. Uh-oh. Sorry. I got a situation. I was just checking something. It said I missed the call, but I couldn't have missed that call because I would have known. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people are not getting this, and a lot of people are getting this wrong. You need to understand that I'm not going to be talking about that information in this document. We're only talking about what an obligation is of the United States. Now, the reason why you put this, and the reason why I include this section right here, in here, let's do this so that you can see. Because many of you, I can only guarantee that you won't understand this without me literally showing you. Now, you see this 27 Code 221 repealed by this act? This act has not been repealed. Okay? But subsection 2162 of that has been repealed. A62. Let me make sure of something because we're talking about that section. No, actually, I want this one. 685. Okay, so we ain't talking about 685, so we ain't gotta worry about that. Okay? But ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to see if it's gonna tell you what that act is. enacted it as positive law. Title 18 of the United States Code. Okay? Senate and House of Representatives. This is the act. Ladies and gentlemen, let me show you what this act is so that you'll understand, because most of you still won't get it. Watch this. Title 28. This is Title 28 of the United States Code. If you look at Title 28 of the United States Code, you're going to see it's the Judicial Code and Judiciary. Okay, this is the Judiciary Act, the second one introduced by Congress. This was introduced in 1948 on June 25th. Love ballad. Okay, we already listened to that, Jeffrey. I love you, Jeffrey. You know I love you, Jeffrey, but we're not going to do you again because we already did Love Ballad, okay? No, we ain't going to do Secret Garden. We ain't going to, Luther, I love you too, but we ain't going to do no Secret Garden. All right, Teddy, my boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why we're including it, because it is the Judiciary Act of 1948. There are two Judiciary Acts. One of 1789, September 24th, 1789. And the other one, June 26th. Well, it's actually June 25th. Okay, 1948. Okay, June 25th, 1948 is the Judiciary Act, the second one. They don't even call it the Second Judiciary Act. They just call it Judiciary and Judicial Procedure. This is letting you know that this is an administrative act. That's where Title 28, that's where the court rules come from. So I just figured I'd give you that information because I figured that information would prove to be somewhat helpful to all of you. Okay, now, I apologize for this video, like I told you. It's going to cover the whole document, so y'all might as well buckle up because we're going to go for a ride. Okay? Number 15. Back in 1933, during the enactment of the emergency, it's supposed to be the Emergency Banking Relief Act, but I refer to it as the Emergency Economic Bankruptcy Relief Act of March 9, 1933. Congress made it clear what was to be construed as government obligation. Under the new law, the money is issued to the banks, Federal Reserve notes, in return for government obligations. We get Federal Reserve notes from 12 U.S.C. 411. Okay? You guys didn't pay attention? Let's take a look at the code. Hold on. Y'all just bear with me now, because we gonna take a look at the code. We gotta go up because we gotta get to the Treasury. Sit at home? I don't want to sit at home. Federal Reserve notes to be issued at the discretion of the Federal Reserve Board, blah, blah, blah. That's that part right there. Okay? So that's what you need to know. Okay? That's that part. No more. Okay. Now, they said in return for government obligations, it will represent a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people of the nation. I am one of those people of this nation. So let's go back to number 5. So if we can see if number 5 covers what we just wrote, what we just read, what we just talked about. Number 5 simply says Congressional record. Okay. Okay. That's where Congress actually told us what their intent was. That they were taking what was ours. No more. No more. This is Teddy Pendergrass, y'all. I believe this song was done by Teddy after he was paralyzed. Yeah, life is a song worth singing. Okay. And when he made this song, I thought this was a perfect song because he still had it. Despite all the things that he had been through, he could still hold a note, could still sing, could still do concerts, and still have the crowd going. The document goes on to say, that's interesting, because the Truth in Lending Act requires this information to be brought to my attention. What information? The fact that there was a mortgage on your property prior to you getting a mortgage with the bank. Hold on, it was not. I have just now learned of the scheme and per the principles of statute of limitations not commencing to run until one becomes aware. Watch this. We need to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. See, the people I'm doing documents for, they want me to explain all of this. And they don't understand how much time it would take to explain all of this to them. So instead of me just explaining all of this, okay, now you see how I put statute of limitation? Look, where the ground for rescission is fraud or mistake, the time does not begin to run until the discovery by the aggrieved party of the facts constituting the fraud. Okay? But no later than the date of blah blah one becomes aware. It does not, statute of limitation does not begin to run until whatever was going on ends, or until you become aware. Okay. See? Interpreted as not commencing to run until the plaintiff discovered, or reasonably should have discovered, not only the injury, see, they say or reasonably should have discovered because they want to use that part to stop some of you from using the statute of limitation. Statute of limitations may begin when the harmful event, such as blah, 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 occurs, or when they have been accomplished. Statute of limitation, there's a fundamental principle, statute of limitation does not commence to run until the last overt act has been accomplished.
A place where there's peace,
Okay?
and serenity.
Look at that. That's my girl. She's singing home, y'all. Home.
Friends who have traveled with me through my wonderful
Okay,
experience.
so that's why we use that. So that you just became aware. Because if you don't say you just became aware, hold on. I have just now learned of the scheme. And per the principles of statute does not commence to run until one becomes aware, I state the following. And by the way, we included Jurat to this. It's separate from this document. That I had the right to know that there were two mortgages on my property. One by the United States government and a secondary mortgage as a member of the Federal Reserve. It's by a member of the Federal Reserve. Okay. I was not informed. This is a violation of my right to be informed, my right to contract, which means all of the associated contracts with my property, and that is to include my estate, are void because of fraud. We didn't say anything about fraud. You bring up fraud, you need to prove all the elements of fraud. We're not here to prove the elements of fraud. We're here to challenge their jurisdiction. But we have to give them a foundation, because remember, the courts are making us prove everything. So the first thing we do is we attack their foundation. They need to have subject matter jurisdiction. So we take away their subject matter jurisdiction. You'll see in a second. According to the Constitution, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. Now, shall private property be taken for public? Under the new law, government obligations will represent a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people of the nation, making it public property taken for public use, as the government property is always to be construed as public property for public use, not for private use, without just compensation. You see, this is all me adding that. That's why it's in the brackets. Okay, I don't have to say that's me adding that. Would you get out of here, Xfinity? Ain't nobody got no time for y'all. Okay. I have no idea where all the emails emails are coming from, but that's only some of the accounts, not all the accounts I have notifications. Because, see, my God, stop it! Okay. And eventually later today, I'll get to all the emails and stuff, but that's only 2 accounts that I'm getting emails from. That's not the others. By the time this day is over, there's going to be quite a few. I get over 560 emails. So that's not a lot. I get 1,855 billion emails a week. We're not talking about you. You go ahead and start your own YouTube channel and talk about you. Okay? Anyway, yet according to the Declaration of Independence, the intentions of the founding fathers was that government was put in place to represent the general public. We go back to number 3 on that. And according to Cambridge Law School, all government is a corporation. Number 10. Let's go there now because we got 10 and 11 left to cover. This is Cambridge. Cambridge! I studied law at Cambridge. Okay. I studied acting at Harvard. What's my motivation? Anyway, the United States Constitution is best understood not as a social contract, but as a popularly issued corporate charter. The earliest American colonies were literal corporations of the crown. Pay attention. This is not those sovereign groups saying this. This is a college saying this. And like all corporations were ruled by limited governments established by their charters. From this, Americans derive their understanding of what a constitution is. The written charter of a sovereign that ordains or limits a government. The key Federalist innovation was to substitute the people for the king as the chartering sovereign. This effectively transfers the governance technology of the corporation to a civil government, including the practice civil meaning people. Ladies and gentlemen, that's so that you'll know. Including the practice of delegating authority by a written charter amendment, and judicial review. Federalists used these corporate practices to frame a government that united seeming irreconcilable, a government energetic yet limited, republic yet mixed, popular yet anti-populist, yielding a corporate solution to the problem of arbitrary rule. Leading founders considered this new government a literal chartered corporation of the people. Then we, yes, and have been since 1863, which was greatly expanded in 1933 from the special committee that was formed to study the termination of the national emergency. This is number 11. I'm covering this because it's in the same paragraph. I might as well go ahead and just cover it. All right? And we're going to start with number 12. This is Rolls Royce, y'all. I want to get next to you. Oh, baby. It's my way. No matter the way it could be. Okay. According to Cambridge Law School, all government is a corporation. According to law, corporations cannot own property, as all property acquired by government is said to be public property, and the government is a corporate body of a group of people, and that group of people represents the entire nation, i.e., not an individual. Again, all property seized by the government is public property because the government represents the public. It's a consensus of a group of people or the public. Okay, since leading founders considered this new government a literal chartered corporation of people, again, it's owned by the people, it's public property. That means that government must hold property in trust, a public trust. That's why you get the people saying that they created a trust, because that is the only way they can hold the property. I know, now you're starting to put the pieces together. That's what I do here. I put pieces together for you. Are we still under a national emergency where all property is held in trust, mortgage? Let's let Congress explain. Since Since 1933, the United States has been in a state of declared national emergency. This means that the courts must recognize the status of this act still being applicable, even in this instance. These proclamations gave forth the 470 provisions of federal law. These hundreds of statutes delegated to the president extraordinary powers exercised by Congress. See, Congress delegated their power to the president, which affect the lives of American citizens in a host of all-encompassing matters. This vast range of powers taken together, so somebody took power, conferred enough authority to rule this country without normal constitutional process. Basically, they did something the Constitution did not allow. To terminate certain authorities with respect to national emergency still in effect, and to provide for the orderly implementation and termination of future national emergencies. Section 502A. The provision of this act shall not apply, pay attention, to the following provisions of law. I did this wrong. Okay. The powers and authorities conferred thereby, the actions taken thereunder, Section 5B of the Act of October 6, 1917, as amended in 12 U.S.C. 95B, 50 U.S.C. 5B, okay? And that's what number 11 was. That's why I read that. So let's go on. Got page number 5 of 85. Anyway, I hereby challenge the statute and these proceedings as unconstitutional. It is to be noted that of the hundreds of statutes delegated, these hundreds of statutes, I said of these, anyway, if these hundreds of statutes delegate to the president extraordinary powers exercised by Congress, this vast range of powers conferred enough authority to rule the country without constitutional process. These hundreds of statutes delegated to the president extraordinary congressional powers is a violation of the Separation of Powers Clause. That clause prohibits one branch of government from giving its power and or authority delegated to it under the Constitution to any other branch of government. Because Congress was acting in General Assembly under its authority vested to it by the Constitution, they were barred from giving their power and or authority to the executive branch and vice versa. Yes, I put in here, Congress, when they enacted this law, were doing so under their congressional authority. But however, by doing so, they were doing so under their delegated authority. Well, their delegated authority prohibited them from doing that. Now, hold on. The court is operating under the hundreds of statutes to the president's extraordinary powers exercised by Congress, or the statutory provisions associated thereby to make these proceedings unconstitutional. I hereby challenge the court, this court, and the statute's jurisdiction is unconstitutional. We're challenging the statute's jurisdiction, ladies and gentlemen, and the court's jurisdiction, because the court derives their jurisdiction from operation of law. Now, what we're doing right here, because that's number 12, and I forgot to put that in there, that's why I'm doing this now so we can clear this up. Executive encroachment on legislative powers. These are the cases where they talk about congressional encroachment on executive powers, judicial encroachment on legislative powers, executive privilege and immunities, congressional immunities, encroachment on judicial powers. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave those in there. I was going to say they don't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but we're going to leave those in there. Those cases right there each talk about the legislature and what the legislative or the executive power can do and cannot do. That's why we put that there. Okay? That's why the video is stopped. You can just pause it and write it down and type it if you have to. Okay? But it's not possible right now for me to get this document out to the masses of you because there's too many of you. Article 1, Section 1, Article 2, Section 1, Article 3, Section 1, Article 1, Section 7. Let's talk about it. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a House and a Senate. Okay? Now, Section number 1, Article 2. The executive power will be vested in the President of the United States of America. not the military power. The military power, it does not say, and the military chief, commander-in-chief. He cannot operate as commander-in-chief and president at the same time. It's a violation and an encroachment on the separation of powers, which is what he did when enacting the Act of March 9, 1933. Okay, and Congress cannot confer such authority on the president, only on the commander-in-chief, which is a separate capacity. But anyway, because he cannot operate both capacity at the same time, because the military can only defend against invasion, which has to be foreign, because you cannot invade something from within. Okay, you cannot invade something from within. Hold on. Some of y'all don't get that. I've not heard this song before, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that's because he's talking about Jesus' love. I ain't got time for Lionel Richie talking about God. That, man. Anyway, we're going to deal with this young lady right here. Okay? Y'all know who this is, don't y'all? That's delegate to the president extraordinary powers exercised by Congress, and the statutory provisions associated thereby, which makes these proceedings unconstitutional. And I hereby challenge this court and the statute's jurisdiction is unconstitutional. Why? Because if the Congress could not delegate to the president those extraordinary powers, and everything that's going on in America stems from the March 9, 1933 Act, which gave the president all those powers and put us under executive rule, that means that that authority doesn't exist, meaning everything that's happened after that is void. The courts will never let this go, ladies and gentlemen. They can never address this issue. Why? Because they address this issue, that means everything that's happened before this is void. All the court cases that were done on the basis of those 470 plus so-called provisions are void. All the laws that were made associated with this are void. Everything that was done, all the other national emergencies that were done in line with this national emergency are void. They can never let this go through, because once a case like this was to be won, they can never do. So what choice do they have? Well, my hope is to put them in a position to where they wiggle them their way out. And then I chip away at their wiggling, so we give them no wiggle. That's why I'm putting them in a box using Congress's own words. So if they can't rule that this is invalid information, they can't rule that this is that internet junk because we're using Congress's own words. So if they say that this, we get to go on appeal, or we get to appeal whatever decision is made and say that they have said that Congress is, what's the words they use? Frivolous, meritless, without blah, 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 nonsensical. That it was Congress who was nonsensical because we're just explaining what Congress said. That's what this whole document is. It is explaining the whole bankruptcy without calling it a bankruptcy, except calling it the Emergency Economic Bankruptcy Relief Act. Okay, let's continue. This vast range of powers taken together confer enough authority to rule this country without reference to normal constitutional process. Congress cannot confer its authority in any other branch of government. This is a violation of the separation of powers clause, and I hereby challenge this statute as unconstitutional. You see, I didn't say delegate this time, I said confer, because it confers enough authority. Congress cannot confer its authority. There is no provision in the Constitution. And all other provisions associated thereto, generated as a result thereof, is unconstitutional. So you challenge all the other provisions that came from this act as unconstitutional. You challenge the court's jurisdiction, if it's derived from this act, as unconstitutional. Okay. Let's do this. The Constitution contains no provision explicitly declaring that the powers of the three branches of the federal government shall be separate. James Madison, in his original draft of what would become the Bill of Rights, included a proposed amendment that would make the separation of powers explicit, but his proposal was rejected, largely because his fellow members of Congress, remember I told you Congress thought the separation of powers principle was implicit in the structure of government under the Constitution. Madison's proposed amendment that they concluded would be a redundancy. This clearly documents that it was the congressional intent that there is separation of powers, and to explicitly state, supposed to be state it, with implicity is unnecessary due to the original legislative intent, due to the language. Look.
You know, I've been through so many changes in my life, girl.
There we go. That takes care of it.
Oh, I've been up real high.
So, due to the original language and intent, we're going to save this because I need to save all this. This
and
is
then
the
again,
corrected
I've been
document.
down
Okay.
real low. There was no one in my life that needed me.
Oh, girl. The first article of the Constitution says, all legislative powers shall be vested in the Congress, not in the executive branch. The second article vests the executive powers in a president, not in the congressional, legislative, or judicial branch, nor in a capacity as military commander-in-chief. The third article places the judicial power of the United States in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as Congress may establish, not in legislative venues, the executive branch, i.e. administrative branch of government.
Then you came into my life. You made my jagged edges smooth. You made my my
We can do
direction so
administrative because we're talking about administrative courts.
Oh, woman, you became my purpose.
Yeah, we can leave it that way. We're not going to say administrative courts. We're going to have to stab them in the eye since we did it by the state. Okay. Separation of powers serves several goals. Separation prevents concentration of powers, seen as the root of tyranny, and provides each branch with weapons to fight off encroachment by the other two branches. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, it does not provide encroachment by the other two branches because the Supreme Court could not do anything about this unconstitutional act, even though it was the intent of Congress for the act to be unconstitutional. Why? Because Congress was saying, you're not going to do that to us. You are not going to put the blame on us. We're going to put the blame all on you. We're going to say this is what you did. They were putting the blame on the executive branch, and the executive branch says, I don't care. I'll be dead by the time they figure all this out. You care about my reputation? My name is George Bush. Anyway, as James Madison argued in the Federalist Papers, number 51, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. They knew that there would be a possibility that the government would do exactly what they did. Clearly, our system of separated powers is not designed to maximize efficiency, but it is designed to maximize freedom.
I've been out there searching so very long, baby.
It is somewhat understood when the President brought forth Proclamations 2038, 2039, 2040, and Congress enacted the March 9, 1933 Act, that created a two-thirds majority, giving the courts no voice, with the exception that the people would challenge it. Okay, let's do this. It should be as
we'll live in love forever, yeah.
Let's do this.
We'll be alone, you and me.
Challenge these as unconstitutional. The reasoning of this is that the Supreme Court lacked the ability to say it was unconstitutional when it was outruled by two-thirds of the governmental powers, and thus it would take a challenge from a different body or from the people. I bring such a challenge here and now. Here and now! Okay, that is literally the reason for that phrase. Let's go down to number 13.
To make love, to be loved.
A facial attack is typically described as one where, on application of a statute, an application of, I took that and put the word back, made it on instead of no. No application of the statute would be constitutional. That's what we're attacking. That no application of the statute will be constitutional. The whole statute is wholly unconstitutional. In contrast, the courts define an as-applied challenge as one under which the plaintiff argues that a statute, even though generally constitutional, operates unconstitutionally as to him or her because the plaintiff's particular circumstances. Because of the plaintiff's particular circumstances. I agree for a facial challenge as well as an. This is not I agree. This is supposed to be I bring. Okay, fourth, a facial as well as an as-applied challenge to the statute here and now. And then here's the case law supporting this. Okay, and this is all of the case law supporting exactly what I'm doing. So I introduce all of this case law. You pause the video. Oh, that's right. You guys can't really see it because free. You just got to do the best you can, y'all. Do the best you can, because this is only being provided for educational purposes and other purposes. And I'm giving legal advice.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna tell it to you like it is. I ain't gonna lie. I'm giving legal advice.
For me to tell you this story, you just must.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the legal advice thing in a minute.
Okay, ladies.
Okay? Y'all just hold on.
Okay, first.
All right.
Imagine that this is the finest man you have ever
This
seen
is
in your life.
Atlantic Star. and they're singing about some secret person. Capacities, showing of cause. A legal person, in legal context, often simply person, less ambiguous legal entity, is any human or non-human entity. In other words, any human being, firm, or government agency that is recognized as having legal rights or obligations, such as having the ability to enter into a contract to sue or be sued. The term legal person is, however, ambiguous because it is also used in contradistinction, to the natural person, i.e., as a synonym of terms used to refer only to non-human legal entities. So, legal person. So, there are two kinds of legal entities, a human and non-human. Natural persons, also called physical persons. There you go. There is your other word. You can call yourself a physical person. Ladies and gentlemen, they just gave y'all a new word. And a jurisdictional person. Okay? Also called a juristic or juristic or artificial, legal, or fictitious person. Latin, persona ficta or persona ficto. Okay? Which in other entities such as corporations that are treated in law as if they were persons. This is your argument when you go in court, people. When they talk about the all caps names, don't call it an all caps name. Call it a legal person. You want to object to the court handling the case on behalf of the legal person and not allowing you to come in your physical capacity as a physical person. You see what I'm saying, y'all? I told y'all we were going to get there. Y'all just need to follow me. Now let's go to number 14. Okay, number 14. In U.S. versus the Copper Corporation. 1941, the court held that the United States government was a juristic person, could sue under the Sherman Act. Section 7 of the Act granted the right to sue only persons. The corporate defendant, which was accused of illegally conspiring and colluding to raise prices on tires, argued that the United States government didn't have the power to enforce the act because the government wasn't a person. The court held that the term person includes the U.S. government and allowed the action against the collusive corporation to continue. In Crooked County versus the United States, ex-rel Challenger 2003, the county was accused of violating a law which forbid any person from falsely obtaining research funds from the government. The county received a $5 million grant, but used it to conduct inappropriate tests on human subjects. The county argued that it could not be held liable because it was not a person. The court held that the county could be sued under the law as a legal person. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you're being held in court, is as a legal person. Aren't you glad that I'm doing this right now? In Rollins versus California Men's Colony, Unit 2, Men's Advisory Council, 1993, the court declined to extend certain rights to legal persons. The Association of Prisoners sought to proceed in former process. In former pauperis. The court held that right to sue in former pauperis existed only for natural persons and not legal persons. So again, the court knows the distinction between a natural person and a legal person. We have the court in a particular case telling the person that they could not represent the so-called non-individual because the non-individual was in fact them. Now they don't actually say that, they imply that, and they asked us to show cause. This is us showing cause. This is us getting rid of that all capital name stuff that you guys have been hearing. This is you going into the court saying, excuse me, are you talking about the natural person, the legal person, or the physical person? Which one are you talking about? I need to know whom you're referring to so I'll know how to respond to you. You're in your mother. Okay? That's what you need to do. Okay. Probably going to be a 3-hour video, so get some popcorn, Get some popcorn. You're going to need it because there's more information coming after this that you're going to need. I know this stuff you've not heard before. Need to pay attention. Those of you who stayed on this long, you're going to understand there's a reason why this information comes towards the end. As I put on the video I did yesterday, this information is not made available to the people who don't really belong here. Okay. Now, Louis A. Konheiser and W. Bentley McLeod, 2010 of June, contracts between legal person, National Bureau of Economic Research, retrieved 7 June 2013, and oh, we didn't need this part right here. I can get rid of this. Oh, I forgot to get rid of this. That's my fault, ladies and gentlemen. That's my fault. I forgot to get rid of this junk stuff. So I am going to have to send that to the two ladies. This is my, this is my redoing this in the beginning because I was supposed to proofread it and I was trying to get it out to them yesterday, but I promised myself I was going to do this morning. That's why we're doing the whole document, because this is for them, because I get to send them this video or a link to the video, and I get to do this document and send it to them so that they can have this document. Okay, there you go. But this is for all of you. You got an appeal, you don't know how to do an appeal, you can't afford to pay somebody for an appeal. Look, this document does not say state court. This was actually written for bankruptcy court, by the way. This was written for bankruptcy court, but you don't hear us saying nothing about bankruptcy court. I want you guys to understand that's the way it was written the way it was written. It's universal. I created a universal document with the universal intent to be applied to everybody. Okay? Okay, this document took me well over a week to do. A lot of hours. Yesterday it was 9 hours. The day before it was roughly about 12 hours. And I'm not even going to tell you how many hours or days before that. And this is non-stop hours with me sitting in here focusing only on one document, not answering phone calls, because I told people I was working on this. It's happening. Encroachment, y'all. You don't belong to me, baby. This is my song, y'all. Brings back so many memories. Pay attention to all the different things going on here. We have the legal personality, the juristic person. Get to know these words, ladies and gentlemen. Men in law and philosophy are natural persons. See, men in law and philosophy are natural persons. Okay. Then they say they are persons of another sort, and that is, in fact, they are artificial persons in corporations. Look, this might be taken to imply there are persons of another sort, and that is a fact. There are artificial persons in corporations. Okay? You understand? That's why we added moral personality and legal personality. Cambridge University president, besides men and natural persons, law knows persons of another kind. Particular, it knows the corporation. And for a multitude of purposes, it treats a corporation very much like it treats a man. Like the man, the corporation is, forgive this compound adjective, a right and duty-bearing unit. Okay? We include this because we're letting the courts know they know exactly what we're saying. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this video because I know none of you have probably paid attention to this word, namesake. Oh, for heaven's sake! Oh man, that's your namesake. You people have heard the phrase in the past, but they never heard it. I heard it through the great. No, it's not that type of heard it. Just pay attention, y'all. I tried to be good. Okay. Paragraph number 30. While human beings acquire personhood when they are born, jurisdictional person. Jurisdictional, not put the is in there. I always do that. Jurisdictional person do so when they are incorporated in accordance with the law. In order for you to be a jurisdictional person, you have to be incorporated according to the law. Birth certificate! Now you need to understand namesake. We're going to talk about that in a minute to let you know exactly what's going on. Okay? Like I said, All the other people do a lot of talking, but they don't explain this. I'm explaining it to you. And I'm taking about 3 hours to do it. So sit back, grab your hat, coffee, popcorn, whatever it is you need to do, and let the music bring you along with me, because that I need. All right. Legal personhood is a prerequisite for legal capacity. The ability of any legal person to amend, enter into, or transfer, etc., rights or obligation. In international law, consequently, legal personality is a prerequisite for an international organization to be able to sign international treaties in its own name. They must be recognized as a legal person. That character in the all caps name is a legal person. The court, through its judicial officer, has stated on the record that it does not recognize the difference between a natural person, legal person, artificial person, juridical person, living person, a human being, a corporation. Hold on, we ain't finished. An instrumentality, an individual, a non-individual, and watch this. Wake up. A physical person, all caps that, bold that, stop listening, okay, etc. all, a non-individual and individual. The court is saying it doesn't recognize that, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you we're going to be putting together a document for the court to understand. We don't care if the court recognizes it. That's not our problem, okay? Our problem is to put it on the record and use the evidence. The problem is the clerk's style manual recognizes these distinctions. Let's get the recognizes. Where's my mouse? You guys can't see that the mouse is just a line, like that line right there. No. I'm gonna do that if I can do anything. And I don't like that. Recognize. Oh, it's without the S. Duh. Okay, recognize these distinctions. In fact, the clerks of the court is prohibited from rendering the name of any party in any other format than the all capitalized lettering, with the exception of numbers, symbols, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and it's legal person and capacity. So let's do this. And I had to put with the exception of numbers, symbols, and other specialized characters, because the clerk of the court must This is Orange Juice Jones, y'all. And this song was such a great hit for him that everybody, the industry wanted him to put out more songs like this. And that is really what kind of faltered his career, because he couldn't repeat this right here. This song was just done so well, so he couldn't repeat this. I gotta put you guys on pause for a second. Sorry about this. See how it went through with the music playing and then we come back with the words? There you go. We just skipped the music, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is because of these distinctions that I say that I have the right to represent myself before the court in my living, and we're going to put physical. Yeah. Do we put physical? Wake up. Physical. Person.
Hey, baby, how you doing? Come
All
on
caps
in.
that.
Got some hot chocolate in the stove.
Bold that.
Listen, first things first. Let me hang up that coat. Yeah. How's your
Stop
day
listening.
today? You miss me? You did. Yeah, I
Oh
missed
yeah, I
you
did
too.
too. I missed you too. I missed you so much I followed you today. That's right. Now close your mouth because you cold
Now
busted.
close your mouth, because you cold busted.
Now sit down here. Sit down here. So upset
Now
with y'all know
sit
what to
down
do.
here. Sit down here so upset with you don't know what to do. And my first impulse was to run up on you.
You Rambo. Without the jammy and flat cold field.
I ain't want to mess up this $3,700 Lynx coat.
So instead I
So
chilled.
instead, I chilled.
I went to the bank, took out every dime.
Chilled. Then I went to the
All right,
bank.
December 35.
Took out every
As a result of
dime.
the March 9, 1933 Act,
And then we
let's
canceled all
hold
those
that.
credit cards. Yeah.
And subsequent
All
amendments
your charge
and
counts.
associated acts and statutes. An
I
agency
stuck you
was
up every piece
created
of
with
jewelry
my
I ever
name,
bought you. Yeah,
similar,
that's right.
with a
Everything.
name similar to mine.
Everything.
And the courts
They fly
have
with me.
held
Nah,
that
don't go looking in that
in
closet,
court
'cause
matters,
you ain't got
a
nothing in there.
person with a
Everything you
name
came
similar
with
to the
is
name
packed up
called
before you
is
get you.
assumed and or presumed to
What
be
was you
the
thinking
person
about?
unless
Huh?
otherwise
What
rebutted.
are you trying to prove?
This is known as the theory of namesake. Oh Lord, we get to learn about namesake. Y'all want to learn about namesake? Have y'all ever did any research on namesake?
Nah, I
Now
can't
y'all
give you
need
nothing
to
but
research.
advice.
Very little
You
research
still
out there.
young.
They don't want y'all knowing about
That's right, you
namesake.
still young.
Namesake is a term used to characterize a person, place, or thing, quality, action, state, or idea that has the same and or similar name to another, especially but not exclusively if the person or thing is actually named after rather than merely sharing the name of another.
You without me like cornflake without
That
the milk.
entity, that legal person is
It's my
named
world.
after.
You just a squirrel trying to
You
get
receive the
a nut.
name first. That legal entity receives the name second. So it is your namesake. For example, if a person, place, or thing has the same name as another, especially if they are named after another person, place, or thing, then the name target is said to be the namesake of the named source. The earliest use recorded in the Oxford English Dictionary of 1635. It was in an Oxford English Dictionary of 1635. Look at that, 1635, just before 1666, with the Sesquippedalian Trust Act. Interesting, huh? Dictionary suggests that the word probably comes from namesake, for one's namesake. Oh, for heaven's sake, exactly. Or for namesake. There has been some discrepancy as to whether the name source or the name target takes the term namesake. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, a namesake is a person or thing named after another. In other words, the name target takes the term namesake. Okay? So, in the courts, they're using your namesake. I presented before this court my namesake, an agency, an instrumentality, an entity for which I stand here with the power of Attorney General, in fact, not durable. It's supposed to be North specific, not North specific, but general to handle any and all matters associated with the entity. This would include bankruptcy. And let's do that. Wake up, comma, this would include bankruptcy. Capitalize that. Bold that. Stop listening. Having resigned as registered agent, I remain Attorney General in fact for that entity. Strictly speaking, I possess the original name. The court possesses the namesake. The name in the court's caption is a namesake. It does not represent me. Wake up. In my physical capacity, living being, sentient. Stop listening. It does not represent me in my physical, living, sentient being capacity, but it represents the namesake. The court clearly understands this because ignorance of the law is no excuse. This is their phrase. They will tell you this all the time. You see, they are required to know law. They know exactly what the rules are. They know exactly what the law is. You don't need to explain this to them. Okay? I need to do myself a favor right now, because we're going to be bringing up a couple of things. Get out of here. Okay, watch this. I need to go back to this one. And we need to go.
Silly to go around and brag about the love I found. I say you're the best. Well, I can't tell the rest.
Okay. The reason why I'm doing this is because I promised a couple people that I will give them a response that they are going to say in court. And this is the information that we're going to be adding. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I just want to do that. I don't want to do what I just did. I would have been cutting something off, and I don't want to do that. I want to take this, and I want to do that. Okay. Make sure it gives me all my numbers. Okay, that's what I want to do. Whew. It worked. But I need to minimize that. I need to save this. Stop making a fool of me. The charging of fees and refusal to recognize my right of access. Okay, number 16. Let's go to number 16 and see what 16 is saying. Because we covered 15, namesake doctrine. Namesake doctrine in general is the second recipient of a name. Name for the first. Named for the first is said to be the namesake of the first. The attribution can, however, go in the opposite direction, with namesake referring to the original holder of the name. The eponym. Okay. Strictly speaking, a namesake is only a person named after another, i.e., for the sake of the other's name, to keep it alive, such as a father naming a child after himself. Many dictionaries, however, following colloquial usage, college, acknowledge that things as well as persons may be or have namesakes, and usually in a secondary definition that the other for whom the person or thing is named, strictly the latter eponym, may be called its namesake, i.e., we call that junk the court created your namesake. This is LTD. It's called holding on. Okay, 16, where we just stopped off, where we talked about the court charging you for fees. Typically, only sanctions can be considered as punishment would qualify under the rule. See, only sanctions which can be considered as punishment qualify under the rule. The courts want to sanction fees. Well, you can't, because of double jeopardy. You've already sanctioned for entering the case, for filing the case, when you charge the filing fee. But we'll talk about that in a minute. As with all amendments to the United States Constitution, the double jeopardy clause originally applied only to the federal government. However, through the incorporation doctrine, the Supreme Court has incorporated certain amendments and clauses against the states. In Benton versus Maryland, in 1969, the Supreme Court incorporated the double jeopardy clause against the states' civil sanctions. United States versus one assortment of 89 firearms. See, they sued one assortment of 89 firearms. The Supreme Court held that the prohibition of double jeopardy extended to civil sanctions, which are applied in a manner that is punitive in nature. See, what they would normally tell you is it doesn't apply because it cannot apply to civil sanctions because they're not criminal. No, it applies to civil sanctions which are punitive in nature. Okay, in U.S. versus Hapler, well, hey, helper, it's like you're saying help, H-E-L-P, not H-A-L-P, helper, civil sanctions made under the False Claims Act qualify as punishment disproportionate award can be explained only as a deterrent and as having a retributive purpose. In other words, punishment. The same thing they said in the other case up there, if it's punitive in nature. Okay. In 1 watt emerald cut stones versus United States, again, they're suing property. The Supreme Court held Congress may impose both criminal and civil sanctions in respect to the same act or omission. No, they can't. And this is what people don't realize. They cannot impose criminal and civil sanctions because here's the thing. In the original Judiciary Act, there was no separation of criminal and civil. And so Congress could not separate criminal and civil because they didn't have the authority to do so. Because the original Constitution recognized criminal and civil being the same. For the purpose of double jeopardy clause, prohibits merely punishing twice or attempting a second time to punish criminally. No, it doesn't. Well, technically, it does suggest criminal, but it says life, liberty, and property. Nor shall a person be put twice in jeopardy. So it does confer criminally for the same offense. But again, there was no difference between criminal and civil at the time it was enacted. You can prove that by the original Judiciary Act of 1789, September 24. But anyway, that's another subject, not this conversation today. Okay, those arguments I can have with the court. I don't have a problem. All right, let's go on. Oh, you're so knowledgeable. I am not knowledgeable. I just read enough, and I have a way of breaking things down because I'm logical. I watched a lot of Star Trek, and I like Spock, okay? Out of all the characters in Star Trek, Mr. Spock, not Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock, the character, not the actor. See, I don't watch movies based on the actor. I watch movies based on the character. I used to watch movies based on the actor until I met Kiefer Sutherland. Woo, doggy! And then that was taken out of the picture. Before it was actor and character. Now it's just the character. Okay. Is this my staple singers? Y'all, this is the staple singers. I gotta get up and walk over. Because as y'all can see, it's almost 9 o'clock. And the light was still on. I can't do that. It's after 9 o'clock, 9:21. Let's see what our timing is, because we got about 20 more paragraphs to read, y'all. I ain't joking. 20 more, 2 hours and 12 minutes. We doing it. All right, let's get back. In order to access the court, I was charged with it. I have been subjected to double jeopardy, which makes the court fees unconstitutional, and any statute associated with the court charging that fee supposed to be not that. It's supposed to be for services is unconstitutional. Here's an explanation as to why. State taxes and federal taxes are directly associated with the court operating expenses, which include filing fees, employment salaries, and supplies. For the court to charge an additional fee for the same services already compensated by the paying of taxes constitutes a violation of the Constitution's prohibition against subjecting anyone to double jeopardy. The court fees are a means of extorting and a violation of federal law because normal banking activities have been suspended due to the current banking holiday and go here. So I don't have to turn on my mic. And it would go here. The court is prohibited by law from charging fees claiming that it is somehow an obligation. Since the government has assumed all obligations on behalf of the people. Ergo, I must hereby challenge the statute permitting the court to charge an additional fee for services that taxes have already been allocated and received for the fiscal year to compensate the court for such services. Remember, the courts get a budget every year, and they spend everything on purpose. so that they can get the same or more the next year. By doing so, they put in there their services, how much it costs to file documents. That's included. Trust me on this. That's why I'm adding this to this document. According to the court, a non-individual does not have the right to seek a fee waiver. I object. Of course, a non-individual entity, a namesake, the party identified in the caption has every right to seek a fee waiver when the fees have already been collected in taxes. If the fees have already been collected, there is no obligation to pay a fee again within the body of the same matter, is there? Now watch this. Wake up. In addition, I was filing on behalf of the entity, or it was the clerk of the court who changed the capacity from the physical person to the legal person, ergo, my application for a fee waiver was not for the legal person, it was for my physical, natural person, which means I am entitled to the waiver of fees since my filing becomes an obligation of the United States as a result of the March 9, 1933 Act. Stop listening. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Give me that. Now, we're going to do that. And we're going to go back. And we're going to go 1 through 1, 2. No, we don't want that 1, 3. And we can get rid of that 1, 2. 1, 2, 3! Okay. Y'all know the OJs, and they're talking about their stairway to heaven. Now, ladies and gentlemen, many people get this stairway business from Scripture. You have the book of Ezekiel, where Ezekiel spoke of a stairway where the angels were ascending and descending. Okay, and so it's from there that they get that stairway to heaven. Okay, not a literal stairway, people. Not that's where you get it in videos and everything and all that stuff from. It's from that, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, the court has documented on record that it does not recognize the filing on behalf of a non-individual, the entity, the estate, the agency, the instrumentality, when in fact, one of the courts acknowledged in the United States, commonly known as the United States Bankruptcy Court, has filings for both the non-individual and the individual, does it not? See, we're not saying this is for the bankruptcy court, we're just saying that the court associated with the United States, known as the bankruptcy court, recognized by the court, has a filing for both the individual and non-individual. The court would have one believe that a non-individual may only be represented by a licensed attorney. Okay, now what we need to do, sorry y'all, because I'm working on 3 different documents right now. And we're only going. I said we're going. Step by step. Yeah, we need to. Oh yeah. Yeah, like I said, we're going into the 60s, y'all. Okay, we got some reading to do, so y'all just sit back. Y'all see, look at that, 70. I didn't know it went all the way into 70, y'all. It's been a minute. 70, oh, we might be going into 80. Woo, we almost went that way. I didn't, we gotta if it had worked out that way. Okay, we do the Stairway to Heaven. Baby, for the rest of our lives. Don't worry about it, I'll explain. The information that that's contained in this section right here, ladies and gentlemen, this information will be useful for the document and explaining to the court, because I'll be letting the courts know that I wrote this on their behalf, and I'll be letting the courts know that they cannot refute these facts. Okay, and here's the thing. Got one more thing I need to do. That's number 11. So we're gonna do 11 through 12, and then I'll have to go back and renumber everything. But we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go. Yeah, see, this is 18, and we're doing sovereign immunity. I did the rest of the document, so we have to do not 11 through 12. Still in a moment of pleasure. Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Just put your hand in mine. Walk with me. Talk with me. Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? It'll be just fine. All right, this is where we're going now, because we're going to be talking about and I just have to put my box over here, because we got a box we got to make. So we're going to put walk with me, because the door's open. Talk with me. Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Step by step now. Put your hand in mine. Trouble and the wall and come on. It's gonna be. Now, for the people who are deciding that they want to put together something to read in the court, you don't have to read this case law. The references, this reference, you're going to file this in the court. So they'll have access to the references. So you don't need to read the references. Okay? We just put the reference there because that's your evidence. Okay? That's your evidence. Now watch this. This is Concentrate on You. We played this earlier. We're going to let this one play because it's the Jeffrey Osborne. We did the LTD thing. So that's why Concentrate on You is there. Wake Up. Witness, testimony, and evidence in support of conclusions and facts of law.
These hours I spent away from you. People wonder how I do it.
All caps that.
Ain't nothing to it.
Bold that.
These gentle thoughts of you makes it all worth going through. You gave me
Bold that.
a special kind of feeling. Makes it so easy and oh so pleasing. Concentrate on you.
Stop listening.
To bring appreciation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll explain why this is witness testimony and evidence support conclusion of law. Because again, we're using the record as testimony. Uh-oh. What happened to that? Y'all don't get to play that over again. It reset itself, y'all. didn't even let me play the next song. No, we're gonna do Sell On. I need Sell On, y'all. Sell On is my song. LTD. Oh no, this is the other song. Dang it, this is the Commodores. I was thinking this was the LTD Shine On. I don't know why it was said Sell On. I knew Sell On is the Commodores. I've never seen the video for Sell On, y'all. And I guess I still won't see it. Okay, let's get back to this witness testimony. We're using the words of Congress as our testimony. So we're going to go back up. And yes, you see this video is almost 3 hours long, and this is me working on this one document. This is me showing you what it takes to put together a document. Going back and forth, back and forth. Wait a minute, I don't want that one, I want this one. Stupid computer. Alright, we're gonna go up here, because we gotta go back to where we were. We did namesake, and we did this. We were charging the fees.
I know it's a shame.
Right about here. And I said, here's why. Okay, we did the double jeopardy, now we're here. 41. Court fees are a means, oh, we did that one. Ergo, I must hereby challenge the statute that permits the court to charge these fees. And then we talked about, according to the court, that there's supposed to be the fact that a corporation could not do the filing and the fees. Okay, that's why I added this right here. Okay, now we're gonna do right here. This is the paragraph we're on 43. The court has documented on record that it does not recognize the filing on behalf of non-individuals, the entity, the estate, the agency, the instrumentality, when in fact the courts acknowledge this. We did the, okay, because we talked about the bankruptcy court. And it was supposed to be going into A. See where it says A right here? This A is supposed to be that big, y'all. I don't know how that A got to be that. Oh, because of this, I had to enlarge this. So when I enlarged this, that enlarged the A because there are two different fonts. And so that's the problem. Let's do this. Let's change this to. Let's do Arial Black. No, we don't want to do Arial Narrow. That makes you almost even. And then while I have that, I got to get rid of that A. So bye-bye A. And we go A, B, D, D, E, F, D. Okay. Just need it for style, people. Gotta have style. Okay. And then this one, let's do the... Oh God, no. We need that one. Okay. Luther Vandross. What about the girls? I can't think of the name of the song though. I know the song. Oh, I don't know the song, you guys. Well, I don't know it offhand. I did not know Gregory Hines and Luther Vandross did a song. So talk to me.
Luther, are you out there? Nobody home.
Good. I had to get out of there. Too many people downstairs.
I know.
Did you see that?
Oh.
That's why I came up here. See, this is nice. Peace and quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very nice. But I'm anxious to get home.
So am I.
Fell asleep late last night. I do know this song. I didn't know he did this song with Gregory Hines. But look at this. I didn't know. I didn't really become a big fan of Luther. I was a fan of him, his first album, and then everybody was giving him so much credit that I walked away. And then in the 90s, I became a fan again. And then he did Dance With My Father. I became a real fan. Okay? And I don't mean fan from the word fanatic, because that's where the word fan comes from. I mean fan according to my understanding what the word fan means. It means that I appreciated the young man. I'm an innocent. She's still in love, and no one could take her love away. I wanna be loved. Again, I did not know Gregory Hines was on this song. I did not know that up to this day. Thank you. I recognize it now. I'm glad I stopped on it because I didn't recognize the beginning. I just saw it was Luther Vandross and I thought it was the girls. But anyway, I'm glad. I just found this out. Don't tell me, oh, I already knew that. How could you not know Gregory Hines? Because I don't listen to it on the radio. And you guys don't understand. I don't listen to the radio where they introduce the artist. I listen to the radio on MP3 where the song just comes on. And while I'm driving, I don't look down and say, oh, that's Luther Vandross or whatever. I know it's Luther. So I don't have to worry about, it didn't sound like he was doing a song with anyone else. It sounded like he was doing a voice over his own voice, like so many artists do. Like Prince did with the song Adore, where he plays 17 different instruments and all the voices are done by him. Or where some idiot did, okay, where somebody did all the different voices. Okay? Shut up. Would you make that child be quiet? Okay, that's what I thought he was doing. All right, there you go. Okay, now you see, that's where I was going. I like this song. There's nothing better than love. I couldn't even put the lyrics together until I heard him say, I fell asleep late last night. Okay, anyway, the court would have one believe that an individual may only be represented by a licensed attorney, when in the United States, it has been held by the Supreme Court that there can never be anything known as a licensed attorney. I need you guys to understand this. Many people have been bringing this argument the wrong way. I am the Attorney General in fact, and I say that the right to practice law is a common right, a right guaranteed by the fundamental slogan, ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's a fundamental slogan. But has the court ever ruled that the right to practice law is a common right? No, the courts never ruled that. Oh, yes, they have. The courts have ruled that the right to practice law is a common right. I will show you in a minute. It's number 17. That's why I said you need to pay attention. To the one you love. Whoa, whoa. I'll be thinking of. A right that is guaranteed by the fundamental slogan, ignorance of the law is no excuse, which means everyone is entitled to practice law. A court stated that the opportunity to practice law is a fundamental right within the meaning of, and here is a Supreme Court case, the right to practice law is a fundamental right. This was the court case, 1978. It was Baldwin versus Montana Fish and Game Commission. The right to practice law is a fundamental right. The Supreme Court ruled this. I did not make this up. But let's go to number 17. I found love on a two-way street, y'all, and lost it on a lonely highway. Stacy Lattisaw. Stacy Lattisaw. Okay, we gotta go up. I didn't know I was past 17. Oh, you way past 17. I hear you like 100 men. Shut up. The practice of law cannot be licensed by any state. Schwer versus Board of Examiners. See, this came from a website, so we don't want that. We don't want that. And we're going to lowercase this one, okay? Because we need to get the court's attention by any state. This is Schwer versus Board of Examiners. This is a New Mexico case. Schwer was trying to become an attorney. He passed the bar, but they refused to give him a license. Why? Because they said that he was associated with communists. That was during that communist era. The Supreme Court ruled that they could not bar him because of that association unless they could prove that that association was something that would bring disrepute, reputation issue. They were saying that because he was associated with communists that it was a reputation thing, and they were not permitting him because of that. So that's where the Supreme Court said that the practice of law cannot be licensed by any state. They said the same thing in Sims versus Aaron's 1925 case, simple case, where they simply said the practice of law is an occupation of common right. No, they didn't say that. The Supreme Court has made the same statement in both cases where they were not there to determine whether the practice of law was a common right. Okay? But they said that no state can license the practice of law. Because no state can license it, then it is understood that the practice of law is a common right. Let's undo that and let's do it the right way. We're going to get rid of that common right thing and we're going to put that in lowercase. Okay? And we'll highlight no state. We'll leave that there. All right. On May 17, 1982, the district court granted Piper's motion for summary judgment. The court first stated that the opportunity to practice law is a fundamental right. Now pay attention. This is a district court within the meaning of this case. Okay? So it first stated that the practice of law is a fundamental right. It then found Piper had been denied this right in absence of substantial reason, and that Rule 42 was not closely tailored. Where I'm not supposed to have. I didn't want this. Okay, this right here was not a portion that I wanted to have in here because it wasn't necessary. So that's why it's not there anymore. Okay, we're just focused on the fact that the court stated the opportunity to practice law is a fundamental right. We don't want opportunity to practice law as a fundamental right within the meaning of that case. Okay, so the right to practice law is a fundamental right. This is what the courts have held. Okay, so when I tell you I give legal advice, I have every right to give legal advice because I have the right to practice law. It's a fundamental right. So that's why you don't go to my videos. You don't hear me doing no disclaimers talking about this is only legal advice and it's not for anything other than legal purposes, and you can rely on this information and go in court and tell them you relied on this information and get your kicked and then deal with it after that. You don't hear nothing like that. Now, what we're going to do is, you see how big that lettering is? We're going to do 8. No, we're not going to do 8. We're going to do 10. Okay. Then I'm going to put B. Okay. No, that B is still the same height. Yeah, that B is still the same height as that S. I don't want that. So I'll leave it that way. Ain't no need to change it. Government obligations and all property owned by the government. A lot of you need to focus on that because this is important. That all property is owned by the government. All property is owned by the state. That means everything you have, everything you're dealing with, all of your money, everything you own is owned by the state, which means it's a government obligation. Many of you are not getting that. I've been yelling it at you, yelling it. It's a government obligation. So let the court know that. But this is the argument for the government ownership. Since the ownership of all property is in the state, the opposing party has made an unlawful challenge in this matter, and the court must recognize their challenge as being barred by law. What is the law that bars their challenge? Well, it's the sovereign immunity law. Look, the 11th Amendment of the Constitution. The 11th Amendment, number 18, says in the United States, the federal government has sovereign immunity and may not be sued unless it has waived its immunity or consented to suit. The principle was not mentioned in the original United States Constitution. Sovereign immunity, 11th Amendment. The 11th Amendment limits the private actions brought against the state in federal courts. Its full text provides, and we're going to get rid of this principle part because I copied this from a website, ladies and gentlemen, that spoke specifically to this issue. Okay? Okay. That's why the wording is the way it is. That's why I can go and get rid of stuff, because I'm not focusing on those words. I'm focusing on the words that apply to the conversation. Judicial powers of the United States should not be construed to extend to suits in law and equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or citizens of or subjects of any foreign state. This is the 11th Amendment, ladies and gentlemen. It's known as the Sovereign Immunities Law or Clause. Now, the Sovereign Immunities Act is a different thing. The 11th Amendment was ratified in 1798 in order to overrule the Supreme Court's decision that a South Carolina citizen could sue the state of Georgia for money damages. This was Crimson versus Georgia. Many people refer to this case. This decision caused uproar among the states because it impinged on the sovereignty of the state, which was supposed to have been retained in the Constitution. Shortly thereafter, an amendment was passed by Congress. What happened was the Supreme Court said that Grisham could sue. Grisham. It's pronounced Grisham. I don't know why it's pronounced Grisham when it's clearly Chrisham. Kissam. See, again, Grisham versus Georgia. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the Supreme Court said he could sue the state of Georgia and he could receive compensation for damages caused by the state of Georgia. Georgia said, oh, that, we immune. Congress, we need your help. So Congress said, all right, God. So what did Congress do? Well, Congress sat up there several years later and they said, the 11th Amendment prevents the federal courts from exercising jurisdiction over state defendants. The federal court will not even hear a case if a state is a defendant. A state may not be sued in federal court by its own citizen or citizens of another state unless the state consents to the jurisdiction. That's not true, ladies and gentlemen. Consent to the jurisdiction of a federal court may be manifested by the state voluntarily appearing in court to defend itself on the merits of the case. See, this is what you want to be focusing on if you want to sue a state. Okay? Consent may simply be by the state appearing in the court. The 11th Amendment immunity extends to suits filed against the state in state courts and before federal administrative agencies, which is the federal courts, unless the state or federal government creates an exception to the state's sovereign immunity, the state is immune from being sued without consent by any citizen in federal court, state court, or before federal administrative agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, you can sue them because they're administrative agencies. All courts are corporations. Corporations are not publicly owned. There is no such thing as a public corporation because here in the United States, corporations are registered with the executive branch. Sorry, because the corporation is registered according to the laws of the United States, they could have made a different law that gave Congress the right to establish corporations, that gave the Supreme Court the right to establish corporations, but do you know what type of mess that would cause? So since the corporations are all set up under that, the executive branch, they can be sued because they're private entities according to their, what is that thing called? Come on. Their comprehensive annual financial report, inclusive of references and note ledgers. That's right. That's how you get them because they stupid that way. They want to protect themselves, but they can't protect themselves. Sovereign immunity or crown immunity is a legal doctrine by which the sovereign or state cannot commit a legal wrong and is immune from civil suit or criminal prosecution. It is a principle of international law which exempts a sovereign state from the jurisdiction of a foreign national court. Excuse me, the United States sue other countries all the time. Sorry. See 11 of the United States Constitution and further understanding of legislative intent. See, that's what I put. The 11th Amendment of the United States Constitution was passed by Congress on March 4th, 1794 and ratified by the states on February 7th, 1795. Deals with each state's sovereign immunity and was adopted to overrule the Supreme Court's decision in Gresham versus Georgia. Okay? All right, there you go. Then we got 20 is 7 CFR 1901.508, and then I don't have to put C at II, C1 at II. You don't have to put that because it's already there. That's what we're going to be covering next. So y'all just hold on. We go in there. You said, but this going to be more than 3 hours. You better believe it because we're covering everything. People that, well, you didn't say this and you didn't talk about that. Well, shut the up now that I'm doing it. Just that simple. Shut the up. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I got all these people complaining who don't have the right to complain, but they're complaining nonetheless. First, nobody's paying me to do this, so you don't have the right to complain. If you were paying me to do this, then you would have the right to complain. But since you're not paying me to do this, you don't have the right to complain. So shut the up is what I say. You are with me now. Oh, Alexander O'Neal. You know, I must say, I know the song, but I don't know the name of the song. If you were here tonight, Alexander O'Neal, y'all. This video is going to be taken down, by the way, because I'm playing these songs from YouTube, and YouTube has these digital signature recognition that it puts on its video. So it's going to take the videos down because it's going to know that I got them off of YouTube. Sorry, it's just the way they do things. But I'm not concerned about that. That's why it's 3 hours long. Those of you who are listening to these videos, what I'm going to suggest, I really am going to suggest this, so you got to pay attention. What I'm going to suggest is that you do something simple. And I really do mean this is real simple, ladies and gentlemen, that you just take and record it by downloading it. I've already shown you how to download. In every video, there's a link showing you how to download the video. Okay? Just that simple. Okay, seeing that the ownership of all property is in the state, then only the state can dispossess me of my property. But because I am a citizen of the state cannot dispossess me of my property without due process. You see, in order for somebody to kick you out of your own property, in order for somebody to take your own property away from you, they would have to, pay attention, come in the name of the state. The banks don't do that. But the banks say they have the authority from the state. Well, no, if the banks had the authority from the state, guess what they would have to do? Pay attention. Guess what they would have to do? They would have to have proof that they have authority from the state, that they have authority to represent the interests of the state. And that's where you can kill them. That's where you get to hammer them. Okay? Look, the state can't sue a citizen of another state. The state can't sue a citizen of its own state. But anyway, we can't get into that. That's a longer conversation. Okay, seeing that the defendant is my namesake. Wake up, /debtor, /legal person, /legal entity, / instrumentality, / jurist. Person. Stop listening. I am the trustor over all my property. In order for the government, i.e. the state, to take ownership of any of my property, including myself, it would need to provide just compensation with respect the contract known as the March 9, 1933 Act, and it has not. Again, your property cannot be taken for public use without just compensation. Remember, the state is supposed to own it. That's public use. Again, I have the right to adverse possession of my property. I maintain all the prerequisites. Adverse possession is supposed to be all of the prerequisites for font that it's in, it squishes the words together, and I hate that, but that's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Okay. All of the prerequisites for adverse possession of my property as a result of breach of contract on the part of the government. The government says that my property is a government obligation. That's what it is. It's not the separation. It is this right here, this phrase. It has the S at the end. That's what it didn't like, is that S. But that is the way the phrase is in the statute. Okay? And that since government has accepted liability, because it's a government obligation, they've accepted liability for all the homes. That's why they mortgaged it. And all the other property of all the people in the nation. They ought to have been notified of you, supposed to be your, not you are, and that's the voice recognition thing. You're attempting to act as conservator over the property without providing me just compensation and due process. Wake up, and them, open paren, the government, close paren, bold that, / the state, proper notice. Stop listening.
And now,
In order for the opposing party to act, we got to get this done
hit single, this one for me.
on behalf of
New edition.
Johnny Gill. To act on behalf of or in the interest of the government, they would have to have power of attorney. For the government to act in such a capacity, I demand that such evidence being made proof on the record immediately, as it is not present at this time. I have the right to sue as a result of breach of contract because the government has failed in its obligation. I have tendered payment by surrendering all reversionary interests associated with the mortgage property by endorsing the associated mortgages to the United States of America without recourse as required by the agreement, thereby invalidating all any claims against myself and or my property. I like New Edition. I've never heard this song. I admit it. Never heard the song. And so I'm gonna let it play. Since all homes and all of the property of all the people of the nation belong to the United States, and for the local state government, it's supposed to be and or.
We came so far and beat out all the odds. They never thought
Let's
we'd
do this.
make it, but I knew it from the start. So
Through the local state government, I am do recoupment for maintenance, upkeep, which in and of itself establishes standing in this matter, which fifth I have not received. Never recoupment and or reimbursement and or compensation due to my maintaining the property, which is a government obligation. My proceeding in this matter is to serve as my counterclaim. Look, the government says it belongs to them. You're saying, wait a minute, I take care of this property. I maintain this property. I have done this. I have done this. I have not received payment for all the work that I've done. I'm entitled to receive payment. That's what you're saying. Okay. My claim is to be taken with all seriousness. You don't like that. I want it to be capitalized. Y'all just gonna leave me alone. Okay, we have to read number 19. Okay, because that was the code. So that's the wrong doc. This one. We read number 19. It was number 20. That's where I put in the code. The 1901.508 assignment. It says that payment of insured notes paid to the United States of America without recourse. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, they don't like this because this law does not say that this is for each of your homes. This law actually just tells them how to handle certain insured notes. But all notes are insured because all property is owned by the government. The government guarantees all of its property because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the nation, so that means that it's insured. This is stuff you need to understand when you first start going out there trying to talk to people. This video is here designed to show you this stuff. Now, we don't have much more to go, but we do have more to go, so we're going to not rapidly shoot because, again, this is for your benefit, not for mine. I wrote the document. This is information I already know. So if you're going to take the time to listen, then take the time to listen. If you're not going to take the time to listen, then go on and do whatever you're going to do. When you lose your house, when you lose this, when you lose that, when you lose this case, that case, when you don't have this argument, that argument, that's your problem, not mine. Let's go on. I don't even know what I'm going to call this particular video because, again, my videos have to be called a certain thing because we don't want people getting the wrong idea. Wait a minute. Is my VPN on? My VPN is on, y'all. Get out of here, Nord. Okay. Back to this document. My claim is to be taken with all seriousness. So we go here. I do not proceed before this body pro se as an entity, a fiction, an instrumentality, an agency, or any construct of a namesake. I am the party whom the defendant, debtor, non-individual is named after, which means I obtain original rights by virtue of operation of law. The court cannot ignore my original statute, or the original statute. Oh, because I love you, which gave rise to its authority. The March 9, 1933 Act. No matter what you do. Give me 1 second. Where's my mouse? There you go. Hope you understand me. We're gonna bold you. Every word. I said we're gonna bold you, and we're gonna all capitalize you. Okay. Nor can it ignore my challenge in this instant matter to its jurisdiction and the validity of the Constitutional Act, which gave rise to the unconstitutional jurisdiction. So we're going to bold unconstitutional jurisdiction. challenge jurisdiction, validity of the unconstitutional act. These are the words I want the court to focus on. It can ignore all the other words because basically what I'm saying is the court cannot ignore the original statute that gives rise to its authority, the March 9, 1933 Act. My challenge, jurisdiction, validity of the unconstitutional act, unconstitutional jurisdiction. So I'm saying I'm challenging that. That's all the court needs to focus on. That's what I wanted to focus on. It has somehow been assumed. Let's do that. Get rid of that. Let's do. Didn't want to do that, y'all. God's will. Closer. Closer. Love you. I love you, baby, with all of my heart and soul. All right. It is somehow presumed and or assumed that the Constitution has been suspended. 21. Let's go down to 21 and see what it means by the Constitution has been suspended. Article number 21. Left the mouse in the wrong place. Number 21. Let's put the mouse here now. Okay. The 9th section of Article 1 places limits on congressional power, the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit. The privilege unless the privilege of any corpus shall not be suspended unless, in case of rebellion and invasion, the public safety may require it. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, so that you get what's going on. They're saying that the Constitution can be suspended because the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended. The writ of habeas corpus can be suspended and the Constitution can be suspended. That's what they're saying. And we have to unsay that for them. So how do we unsay that for them? I see what's happening. You see these letters? When I change that P, oh God.
You know, one time
when I changed
so
the A,
until I had to go to one of my friends and talk to him.
Okay,
and I told
gotta
him,
change my numbers back, y'all, because they done
I'm
messed me
having
up.
problems with the woman
44.
that I love.
This is
It
supposed
seems
to
that I
be
call her on the
45.
phone and I just can't get her to answer.
That was the problem.
And then I went to her house and I saw a car parked in the
45.
driveway.
Point.
I knocked on the door, but still my knocks went unanswered. And then I went home and I watched television until television went off.
That's why everything was out of
And then I played
line.
my records until I just didn't want to hear them anymore.
Oh God.
And finally I went to bed, but I found myself
Sorry.
waking up
This
a
is
few
what
hours
happens.
later. And the tears were running down my face. And my friend told me, he said, Lenny, you just ought to forget about it.
But you know what I told
But
my
I
friend?
told my friend, I said, you know, maybe you've never been in love like I've been in love. And maybe you never felt the things that I felt. But this is what I told my friend. I said, you know, sometimes
you get lonely.
You get lonely.
You get
You get
lonely.
lonely. You get lonely. Oh. And I cry.
That's what happens with formatting. Let's do that so we can get that way. And the tears would fill up in the wells.
In the wells.
In the wells of my eyes. Oh, baby.
And then it got so bad. It got so bad. So one time I thought I'd roll myself up in a big old
Sorry,
garland.
necessary.
And
Documents
then I
got to be
met you,
uniform.
darling.
Just in case you guys run into the same problems, you'll see why the problem happened. I was wondering why I had to do that every paragraph because it wasn't that way original.
And you reached out your
And you
hand.
reached out your hand.
You helped me.
You helped me.
You helped me.
Whoa! Sorry, that right there. I had a friend that I was around. His name was Eric, and this was Eric. He was an alright youngster, but Eric was a idiot. He was about 3 years younger than me. and he was riding with me in my car, and he saw a group of police in Hawthorne, a very racist part of Los Angeles County, and he saw a group of individuals, police officers, and they were all standing outside their car at the mall. It used to be called the Hawthorne Mall. It's been shut down since. But he actually yelled out my car window, "What?" as he pulled by, scaring the idiots. And they ended up pulling me over, and I gave him a hard time. It was when my boy Lenny Williams just said, "Wah!" Then I understood where Eric got that from, because he used to do that all the time. But I ended up getting a ticket. They gave me a fix-it ticket, which there was nothing to be fixed, but they still gave me a fix-it ticket nonetheless. Let's just say he and I, we got along after that. It's just didn't appreciate it because, you just don't do things like that to them racist Hawthorne Torrance police officers, because, that's just the way they are. Sorry, I put all of them in the same boat, okay, because that's the way they were. Okay. All right. I don't know where I stopped. Oh, here I am, right here. It says right here, we're going to start here. This is Howard Hewitt. I knew the young man's nephew, and when this song came out, I wanted to meet Mr. Howard Hewitt, but wasn't really that interested. But Howard, I like this song. It is religious based because he's talking about God. Say amen. Okay. Heaven's where my strength lies, like beyond the skies. Only he can save my life. Only he can hear my cry. I want to thank you, God, for giving me one more. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hereby challenge the United States government's claim as to ownership of me and my property as being invalid because it is against the laws of the United States of America for anybody to be placed in servitude without their consent. And just because it is said that one is born and is supposed to be. See, I put nationalized, okay, or naturalized in the United States is a United States citizen. Such cannot be done without knowing and willful consent. Wait, hold on. Let's make sure y'all understand. We're going to read the act because this is number 21. It should have brought us back to number 22. Oh, you know what? I didn't put the naturalized. I put that in 23, so I'm going to have to put number 23 there. Okay? Because 13, that's the X is 10, and the 1, 2, 3 is 13. Passed by Congress 1865, ratified December 6, 1865. It says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, and they can't punish you, okay, because you haven't committed a crime, even though it's a Trading with the Enemies Act, okay. We want to, because you have to be duly convicted, that means due process of law, shall exist in the United States or in any place subject to its jurisdiction. That's the part that we're highlighting. We don't care about the other part. Okay, Congress should have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. I don't care about that. You gave me your son. Okay. Now, it says a portion of Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution was suspended by the 13th Amendment. Okay? The Constitution cannot be suspended. But what they did is they amended it. And that's why they did the 13th Amendment. So it was amended. We're going to get rid of this because this is a note. That's the note. The reason why they have those notes, ladies and gentlemen, is so that you can understand the congressional intent was modified by Section 2 of the 14th Amendment. Okay? Article 1, Section 2 was modified. We don't care about that because I'm not using Section 2. I'm using Article 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States or of the state wherein they reside. Ladies and gentlemen, many of you don't want to be United States citizens, but you want to be citizens of the state wherein you reside. Ladies and gentlemen, that makes you a United States citizen. All persons born or naturalized in the United States subject to the jurisdiction are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Well, I want to be just a state citizen. Well, you're a state citizen and make sure you're a United States citizen. Okay. No state shall make or enforce any law which abuses the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States. Privileges and immunities. Okay? Nor shall any state deprive a person of life, liberty, property without due process or deny any person within the jurisdiction equal protection of law. Okay, I don't care about this. I really don't. We want to focus on privileges and immunities. This is If I Could, Regina Belle. I've already played for you guys time and time again this song by Ray Charles, but Regina Belle was the first time I heard this song. That's why I wanted to listen to Ray Charles' version of the song. Okay, 21.
Yes, I would. If I could, I would try to shield your
Okay.
innocence from time. But the light of life,
I gave you isn't mine. I'd watch you grow
I'll watch you grow.
so I could let you go. Okay, now we go to 61. Yes, I know, but I'm not concerned about the time, ladies and gentlemen, because it's my time. See, I'm spending the time doing this for you guys. I'm showing you the entire document, showing you the basis for which the document is put together, and I'm showing you the case law, and showing you the argument and the reason for it. So take the time, spend the time, learn the time. I say that the United States government claimed ownership of my property. Claim of ownership of my property is invalid as a result of the fact and evidence presented by Congress in their intentions in acting, supposed to be, watch this, when enacting, not an acting, when enacting, hold on, that's what I need to see. I need to see where it was. When enacting the law in the first instance and the subsequent laws associated thereto, the court is asking for me to show cause. The court is asking me to prove I have standing to do my adverse claim of possession of my property. And so I present before the court the actual statute, the intention of Congress as my witness and evidence as to what my rights are, and do not accept the court's interpretation, because such would not be based on facts and conclusions of law, but it would contradict the actual legislature with respect to their intent when enacting the legislation in the first instance. If Congress had intended otherwise, then they would have amended the provision with respects to the March 9, 1933 Act. They had this opportunity in 1974 and again in 1976, and came to the following conclusions as based on the evidence of their intention. We have 1973, we put 1974. I was supposed to change that, so I apologize that I didn't change it, and that's why I'm doing this video, because this is my proofreading. Since March 9, 1933, the United States has been in a state of declared national emergency. These proclamations gave forth the 470 provisions of federal law. These hundreds of statutes delegate to the president extraordinary powers exercised by... Ladies, gentlemen, and ladies. Ladies, gentlemen, and ladies.
And when I got ready to leave there, baby, I left for grace. I said, thank you, Mr. President, for your invitation. Please invite me back again. But if you want to make me happy and you happen to invite me back again, please don't invite no damned old men. Without a mom, the day would never end. Without a mom, the road would never bend. A man is born, but son, you ain't got a friend. Not like a mom. Not like a mom.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and let Miss Mobley, Mom, go ahead and come back another day. We are gonna go here, and then next up on the news channel, ladies and gentlemen, what I need to tell all of you this morning, there are a couple of things that I forgot to mention. I made a video and I talked about blood and water boiling at roughly the temperature of boiling water, about 120 degrees, and about how I learned this in school. Well, the fact is, the water starts to boil at roughly about 100 degrees, but you start seeing bubbles at 120. Now, again, they were right that water starts to boil at 100, right around 100, because there is no set number. However, 120 degrees was the number that, you know, we had back in the 80s when I was in school. No, sorry. I knew that since the 70s when we did our little Bunsen burners and our little, what do you call those? Not a Bunsen burner. It was a, no, it was a Bunsen burner that we had in the school. And we would take water and we would take a container and the teacher would set the water and then we would sit up there, watching a pot boil. It takes a long time. We would sit up there and we'd watch a pot boil and we would put a thermometer. Well, actually, we didn't put the thermometer in. They were very cautious back then. Well, actually, no, in the 70s, they weren't that cautious because we got to do a lot of stuff that kids can't do today, that there are a lot of restrictions on them doing because of safety standards and so on and so forth. Remember, we could sit up there and eat lead paint off walls during the 70s. Can't do that anymore. They don't even have lead paint anymore. So, we were a little bit stronger back then. We could handle stuff like that. Well, anyway, I just wanted to correct that just in case anybody was assuming that I was incorrect when I stated that. And the point wasn't whether or not water boiled at 120. It is a true statement that it does boil at 120. The rest of the statement is that it starts to boil right about 100 to 110 degrees. There you go. And that the doctor said that he saw my blood boiling in my veins. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I told you I was going to do a video on this particular document. Now, I have another document I have to create, but it ain't gonna let me. All right. So we create a name, we create address, we create a city, state, and we put exempt. Why you put exempt? Because we ain't got no zip code. It's exempt. See how I put state of Washington right here? Well, watch this. Let's go ahead. This is what y'all gonna do when y'all get this document. Watch this. Got to do this right here. Hold on. Daniel Hubbard. Michael O'Conroy. Oh, stop listening. I actually couldn't talk while that was up because it would have been typing everything I would say. And I don't want it to type everything I would say, because I ain't got time for it to be no typing everything I would say. Now watch this. I'm gonna pick bold, okay? And then I'm gonna click OK, and watch what it's gonna do. I'm gonna hit replace all. Did you see that? It just notes in Federal Reserve of the Federal Reserve Bank and the National Banking Association. They put this here specifically. This was to allow the issuance of Federal Reserve notes. But remember, the other statute says you cannot use Federal Reserve notes to pay debts. So it is not legal tender for the payment of public and private debts. You cannot use it because you're prohibited by statute from using it. What was Congress's intent when they enacted the Gold Obligation Repeal Act? Their intentions was made clear in the statute at large. No, I'm aware that a lot of people
I can think of younger days.
Have been confused over the years. Yet the court cannot construe my presentment
Could want to do. I could never see
and liken it with those misguided individuals who obtain their information via the internet or contain non-government or certain non-governmental groups. For the simple reason, I include the intention of Congress as evidence to support my claim. I am utilizing Congress's own words as my witness, and because I am using the actual record of the United States Congress's intentions are made clear via those records, which are a matter of public record, which are a matter of the Federal Registry. I hereby introduce the Federal Registry's records in their codified, certified format into this matter by reference. We still come to the same conclusion that the seizure of the property of the American people was not authorized by the Constitution and was illegal, for the alleged compensation was not authorized by the United States Congress. Federal Reserve banknotes do not exist. The only thing in circulation is Federal Reserve notes, and as has been made clear, the Federal Reserve notes are only permitted for use amongst the Federal Reserve banks and or its agents. Note the intentions of Congress when enacting this provision. This is Mend a Broken Heart by Federal Reserve notes to be issued for the purpose of making advances to the Federal Reserve banks through the Federal Reserve agents as hereinafter set forth, and for no other purposes are authorized. The said notes shall be obligations of the United States. And I put all of the wonderful little acts, statutes at large, here to let them know. I have been left without a remedy. I have been left without compensation. I am entitled to a remedy, equitable, as well as affirmative relief. I could say equitable remedy, but a remedy equitable as well as affirmative relief. And I am entitled to compensation for my maintaining the property that is said to belong to the state. I have someone who is intending on trespassing upon me and my property, and I have the right to seek intervention from the court. Now we're asking for a stay of anything associated with that individual, whatever they're trying to do. Requesting a stay pending the outcome of this appeal. Because of the complexity of this appeal, because of the lawful challenges of this appeal, because of the secure rights associated with this appeal, because of the only party who will be harmed if a state, and this is not supposed to be state, it's supposed to be state, is not instituted, is myself. My interests, my assets. I must request the court issue a stay. See, we didn't say appeals court, state court, Supreme Court, Superior Court, appeals court, bankruptcy, district court. You know, we didn't say any of that. We just said the court. So this matter will apply to every single court situation. The only other party who has a claim of right in this matter would be the United States government and or the state government by operation of law. The owner of all property is the state. Individual so-called ownership is only by virtue of government, i.e. law, in accordance with the law and subordinate to the necessities of the state. And no other parties may make a claim of undue hardship. Only the state or the government can claim undue hardship, and they can't make a claim in this instance because they're not being harmed by you being in the property. A stay is automatic due to the fact that the government has not authorized these proceedings as required by statute. A power of attorney with the seal of the government has not been introduced into the record, nor have I been properly notified of the government relinquishing its rights and waiving. I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for it to move. That's the first thing we have to do is bring it back. And I have to change that wavering. Again, it's sovereign immunity to let the matter proceed against my property that it has ownership of. That it proclaims ownership. That it proclaims it has ownership of. Okay, I can live with that it has ownership because that is its proclamation. It proclaims it has ownership of. Okay. This matter involves government obligations. Because it involves government obligations, I must highlight the fact that this is a matter dealing with sovereign immunity, which I believe is beyond the jurisdiction of this court. In violation of the 11th Amendment to the United States Constitution, I must ask that a judgment be placed on the record in my favor, and that if the case must be had, it must be with the United States government against myself and not in any other part as prescribed by law. Wait. I bring forth this, my appeal, and introduce these facts and witness statements into evidence to be considered by the court as a whole, and each of the questions be answered systematically, succinctly, and specifically. I remind this body that I have the right to challenge the statute and the Constitution as unconstitutional, and remind this body that it has never been determined by any court based on the evidence contained in this presentment whether or not the act was constitutional based on the legislative intent of the statute, and the courts must take into consideration the evidence presented here, the kind of context or textual
And a house is not a home when there's no one there to hold you tight, and no one there that you can kiss good night. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, hello, bye-bye, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The contextual presentment of the evidence
is still a room, even when
and the legislative intent of the statute when compared with the actual communications of the Congressional members who enacted the statute. I do hereby present this, my
and a house is not a home when the two of us we are far apart.
my response. Don't know why I do that. Before this body, and do so attesting that the aforementioned information is wholly accurate and done under the Constitution of the United States of America on this January 24th, 2018, so help me God. Okay? And then, let's see, after 24, but it's just. Now see, we have two things that I have to do. Watch this. It ends to pretend it's all. Darling, have a heart.
Darling,
Okay, I have to go here. The first thing we have to do, we didn't give you guys the other case laws, so let's give you the other case laws so that you have those and then we're finished. We have executive order for number 24. Executive order is a presidential executive order signed on this. This is by President Roosevelt, forbidding the hoarding of gold, okay, and coins and currency of the United States Federal Reserve. Okay, this is the Federal Reserve Act, the one that we just read. That's what this part is. Okay, that's the end. There's nothing else after this. See, let's go down. There's no 25. There's the 20. Oh, it was 20 pages, but it will be 20 pages when all is said and done, because guess what? We have a jurat and an acknowledgement. So we do a jurat and acknowledgement, and we don't include that statement that the notary only recognizes the signature. We don't do that acknowledgement. We do a full acknowledgement. We acknowledge the information in the presentment that we're presenting to the court, and we do the regular jurat, and we allow a signature to be placed on that page, okay? And we follow. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the idea of this presentment being placed in the court is for you to understand one thing. When you go before the court, they're asking you to prove this, to prove that. They're asking you to provide them proof of this or that. We're telling you that you don't have to. That's not your job to provide the court proof. It is the court's job, not your job, to provide proof. It is the court's job to know the law. The court wants you to prove your standing. The court wants you to prove who you are. Okay? Now, what I've been finding out, and I want to let the people who I'm doing this for, because there are people who I'm actually actively doing this for, I think I can get rid of that last page. Can you see this right here? There's a big, huge section right here. So let's see if I can. Let's change this. Wake up. Physical. Living. Capitalize that. It's driving me crazy to think that my baby wouldn't. Capitalize that. Capitalize that. Okay. Stop listening. Are you gonna be? Say that you're gonna be. It won't let me get rid of this last page. Still in love. Okay. Yeah, I should be able to get rid of this last page, but it's saying no. And so, can't get rid of the last page. And there's nothing that I need to put there, because everything I needed to say, everything you need to say is on the 18 pages above. Okay? I know what to do with the last page. That's where I'm going to start this document. Okay, I put this stuff here last. That's where I'm going to put this information, where I explain to the court my position and that I wrote it for those individuals. Okay, so I can get rid of this altogether because I don't need this. I'll just put that on the last page. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Complete explanation of how you can explain your position in the court, how you can't get tied into being part of those groups and being sovereign citizens and all this other stuff. Okay, and for the people whom I was helping and their cases have been dismissed, I'm going to be sending them this and telling them to place this in their court, this general document. Why? Sending it back to the court, doing a motion to vacate judgment. Okay, but for right now, I got to let this video go. I've held you all hostage for too long. But hey, we got to listen to some pretty good music on the way, didn't we? All right, ladies and gentlemen, and ladies, we're just simply going to call this a universal response to the court. Just that simple. We're just going to call it a universal response to all court proceedings. Just that simple. All right, goodbye. Have a good day. Have a good night. And, oh, if you agree or don't agree, your opinion was not solicited. Sorry. We don't do solicitations at this particular website. Have a good day.